How's everybody doing on a Friday night? If you're not dancing, why not?
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Qatar have done to the World Cup. I mean, you know, why invite the entire world to your country if you're then going to act like you don't want anybody there? It's fucking ridiculous, right? I know. Why is FTFE talking about football? He's a nerd. I mean, it's the World Cup, apparently. And, you know, USA just held England to a 0-0 draw. Hell must have frozen over. Anyway, hello guys. How are you doing on this Friday evening? Tonight I'm going to, you know, because I hate myself or something, you know, gonna go into the Discord server, the Tartaria 24/7 Cosmology Tartaria server, and talk to the flat earthers in there. You know, why not? I guess I really do hate myself. This is punishment for things I did in the past life, maybe. I don't know. Hello, Tauseti Alpha in the chat. Nice to see you, buddy. Heat Shield. All you lovely people that are normally there. Surgeon General, Phil Blacker, Sean Carroll, Charlie Welch. All you awesome people. Thank you very much for joining. Yeah, so that's what we got planned for today. But I'm going to let you know quickly what's coming up on Sunday. Sunday I'm going to be releasing episode 72 of Flerfs to Idiots. I know it's behind schedule. I've been fighting with my Adobe software because, you know, they update and then nothing works. But what I'm going to do is before that, I'm going to release a mega cut of the rest of the episodes up to 70. Then I'm going to do a live stream with Mrs. FTFE. And we're going to have a bit of a banter about how much she hates being PAL and stuff. Then I'm going to replay episode 71 on the live stream, and then that was sent to a premiere of episode 72. So if you want to see Mrs. Fight, Mrs. FTFE on a live stream, then please join me on Sunday. But for now, let's just do it. Let's go jump in over there and say hello. Looks like they're ready. Let me just get that on the screen so you can see. Here we go.
Ah, there he is.
Hello, Cosmology Tartaria Discord. How are we?
Hi, Craig.
How are we all doing today?
Fanboy.
Hey, Craig. Welcome, man.
Got a bunch of fanboys in you, Craig.
Yeah, a lot of your fans are over here chilling with us. Like, oh my god, I can't wait till he gets here. Oh my god, he's here!
They turned on the coffee for you.
Oh, thank you. Is there flat earthers here, though? That would be nice.
Yeah, that.
I seem to be running low.
Yeah, I know. The pickings has got slimmer and slimmer. I think Toon and I have debated it into non-existence.
Well, I thought, when I found Toon debate me, I thought he was already scraping the bottom of the barrel, but you guys went further from there. It's
Yeah,
impressive.
we're past the barrel, and we've scraped further than the borehole in Russia. So,
So,
what flat earthers are in here and want to talk to me about how pendulums show the Earth rotates? So I'm still waiting to hear a good argument against that.
Do you want us to ping Witsit?
I won't.
Witsit's just going to go Machian principle. The sky rotates, therefore that does, and with no evidence behind it ad nauseum. So.
I think Witsit literally said he only came to talk to you because I asked him as a friend, so I don't think he'll ever do it again, dude. I don't know what to tell you. He might pop in, though. I don't know. He popped in from
I mean, if Witsit wants to come in, he's welcome to. I've tried to be nice and cordial to him because I'm trying to, find Flerfs to debate. Flat earthers, sorry, I know that you don't like that word in here. But yeah. Shane, what about you?
Yeah? Dude, I'd wear a Flerf t-shirt if you made one. I don't give a shit. But you want to talk about how the precession of a pendulum literally does not prove that the Earth is spinning?
Well, why would you say that? Because there's no other reason why it does.
I mean, you're not claiming that the motion of the pendulum is spinning Earth, right? Only the fact that it precesses over a period of time, and that's when you make your speech about how you can mark the latitude of the Earth using this experiment, and that's literally proving a globe. Is that
there's a literal relationship between the drift of the pendulum over time and your latitude on Earth. Those are two things that physically correlate to each other, showing that the Earth has a spherical surface due to the sine-cosine relationship of the pendulum's degree to the latitude that you are on.
Okay, so if we're going to jump down the idea of the pendulum observation, my first question is, how did the pendulum begin to move?
Someone started it swinging.
Okay, so there was an input of energy from an external force then.
To get it to swing, yes.
That question was for FTFE strictly.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's all I need. Thank you for that.
Put the pendulum in motion because things don't start moving on their own for no reason. So yeah, of course the pendulum has to be put in motion. But the point is that when it's in motion, because it is moving, it has a lateral force applied to it that we call the Coriolis force because the Earth's rotating. And that lateral force that is applied is different depending on your latitude on Earth. So
if you get a pendulum and you swing it, how long does it have to precess for you to realize that the Earth's spinning? What's the minimum exposure length of it spinning and precessing for you to be like, oh, now I know that the Earth is spinning?
You can do it over any amount of time. So, for instance, if you let a pendulum swing for 3/4 of an hour, which any decent-sized pendulum under its own inertia is going to move for about 3/4 of an hour, right? And that over that 3/4 of an hour, it will drift a certain amount. So then you take the degrees that it's drifted over the time, and then you can calculate how long it would take to do 24 hours. And what it turns out is that if you're at the poles, either the North or South Pole, that it would take 24 hours to precess 360 degrees. But as you move further away from the poles towards the equator, the time that it takes to precess gets longer and longer because the swing of the pendulum is relative to the Earth's axis. So as it moves away, it takes longer to precess until you get to the equator where there is no precession. And you can use this relationship to calculate your latitude on Earth. And as far as I'm aware, there's no plausible mechanism or explanation that the flat Earth has as to why that happens.
So you wouldn't say that it rotates... Demon, hold on one second, dude. You're welcome to speak, though, here, dude. We love you. Would you say that the pendulum happens to precess at 15 degrees per hour like all the other supposed Earth spin measuring things that have been done?
No, it's a sine-cosine relationship. Like I said, it precesses depending on your position on the planet. So if you're at the poles, it will precess 15 degrees per hour. 360 degrees over 24 hours, yeah. But if you move away from the poles, that precession actually gets longer.
Oh, that's what you said at the end of it. I must have ignored that last part. Sorry, dude.
That's all right. I'm used to people. No, as soon as I talk, their eyes glaze over. I've been married for 20 years. I'm used to it.
Come on, man. I'm not your wife. That's awful, Demon.
Okay, so the question was, you claim that the pendulum will swing for this little process for this long at either of the poles, and my question is, where can I look to for like an experiment that shows that actually happened and when it happened?
I can put the South Pole experiment paper into the chat anytime you like. I quite often reference several different experiments, including one specifically done at the South Pole, where they got the expected precession of 24 hours. So if you would like me to put those papers, or if anyone else can grab that paper and chuck it in, then yeah.
I'd like to read it, yeah.
And that happened at the North Pole as well?
I've only got a paper for the South Pole. But any pendulum experiment shows that there is this relationship to your latitude on Earth. And my question is, why does that happen if the Earth is flat and stationary? What is the mechanism for that relationship to your position on Earth as to how much it drifts?
I don't think it's been proven that that is actually what's happening in your experiment for these guys. Like, I think that's the part of the argument that's happening. Like, if you could prove that this is the process that's actually happening, then that would prove it. But I think some of the questions here are, like, how do we know that that's what's happening to the pendulum itself?
Well, the thing is, it matches the predictions of a rotating globe, right? If the Earth is a rotating globe with the dimensions that we say, then this is what physics expects will happen to a moving object on that rotating surface. So that's what you do. You test a prediction to see if it's true, see if you can disprove a hypothesis. And what we find is that whenever we do the experiment correctly, we fail to disprove the hypothesis of a rotating Earth. It matches what we expect to happen. So until there isn't another explanation that can explain why it happens, but this is what we expect to happen if the Earth is a rotating globe.
Right. So you input energy into something, and you expect something to happen, and it happens. Therefore, your presupposition is correct. Cool.
No, it's not a presupposition. It's a hypothesis. And
my question
within one sec. When you say presupposition, no, it's not. When we're in the confines of science, a hypothesis is an assumption. It's an educated guess about something, all right? There's no presuppositions. There's just, well, I think it might be this. Let's test if that is the case. So whenever any of you flat earthers like Witsit or anything brings up, oh, you're begging the question, you're presupposing this. No, I'm just doing what science dictates I do to try and disprove a hypothesis. You understand that, right?
Can I ask a question?
I 100% appreciate your explanation. Thank you for that.
No worries.
I have a question.
Okay.
So the thing is with the pendulum, right?
Yes. Hey, Clay, it's you. Hey, we talked last time. How you doing?
I had Clay turned down.
I'm good. I'm doing good. I noticed that my microphone was way too high on volume on the live stream last time. But anyways, so when the pendulum is being started by an by a force, for example, my arm, right? So in theory, the force that is needed to start it is something that we need to do, but for some reason the force of the object that this pendulum is standing on, which is the Earth apparently, Neo Paradigm, has enough force to then be only able to manipulate it in a way that it swings in a different direction, which in my logic is kind of weird, because why is it not able to manipulate a still sitting string of a pendulum, but once it's being started by the force of your hand, for example, then it's the forces that are outside are somehow now able to manipulate it? It's just kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense.
That's a fair question, and I understand where you're going with this. Now, the simple answer is, when the pendulum's just sitting there, right, it's not moving. It's just stationary. It's moving with the Earth, all right? And when it's swinging, it's moving, right? It's it's got a motion backwards and forwards. We can both agree with that. If it's not swinging, it's stationary. If it's swinging, it's in motion. Okay. Now, Coriolis forces are only applied to a moving object. If you do the maths of what Coriolis imparts forces on, you'll see that when there's an object that isn't moving, the net sum of forces applied to it is 0. But when an object is moving, then the Coriolis forces are applied to it laterally, right? So because the pendulum is swinging, that allows the Coriolis forces to be applied to it. But when it's not moving, there's no Coriolis force to apply because it's still just relative to the Earth. Does that make sense?
So that makes sense. Thank you. I will have another question towards specifically that, right? The Coriolis effects. So the thing is, we would use a pendulum to detect this, Coriolis effect, right? Taking place. How can we make sure that whatever is the diversion that we're detecting with the pendulum is indeed caused by Coriolis? When is there like a different or 3 different experiments that come to the same conclusion except for the pendulum?
Well, yeah, you can.
Like can I put a pendulum in one room and then right next to the pendulum another thing, and right next to that thing another thing that would detect the same outcome
absolutely.
of Coriolis?
So there's many experiments that detect the rotation of Earth. Obviously, pendulums is one I like to talk about because it's a really simple one. Obviously, you've got gyroscopes and stuff. Thanks, Bob. Mechanical gyroscopes, gyro compasses. One that I like to talk about, and Toon's been talking about as well, is you can use a really strong magnetic field, like 15 Teslas, to levitate a magnetic ball, and then spin that ball and see what Coriolis forces are applied to that and what predictions you get. And all these experiments that you do, they all come to the same conclusion, that the Earth is rotating at approximately 15 degrees per hour. If you'd like to see a large list of experiments, you go to mctoon.net/spin.
So all these...
Was there ever an experiment conducted where you had 2 pendulums next to each other giving the same outcome?
Not that I could tell you off the top of my head, no. But there's been many pendulum experiments done all across the world.
Yeah, I understand. What I would be curious to know, since we're using the pendulum to read something, certain information and output, what would be interesting for me to know is what happens if we put 2 pendulums right next to each other and we would activate them, let's say, from an electrical force, which we can measure that it's exactly the same force being applied to make it swing, to see if we get the exact same outcome of measurement.
So you're implying that it might be some other force that's doing it rather than Coriolis forces being applied, like
in general, I would have the curiosity to know if we would get the same outcome when we have two equal.
I have to make the assumption that we would, based on all the experiments that we see. I have to assume that two pendulums sitting next to each other that are set up correctly would give the same result. I've never seen this done, but I've seen lots of individual pendulum experiments done. But I can't say that I've ever seen that, so I couldn't give you a definite answer. But I have to make the assumption that they would.
So, my thing is, every gyroscope before the ring laser gyroscope and the Thanks Bob meme came along had measured the 15 degree per hour spin, right? In fact, it was even expected by space specialists when they did it, right, that they would probably see the same result as has been previously given on the other instruments. Am I wrong in saying that, or what?
Sorry, say that again. The ones before it didn't pick it up, did you say?
Yeah. Well, no, it did, right? So the 15 degree per hour was measured by other types of gyroscopes before
exactly.
the ring laser gyroscope. Okay.
Any sufficiently frictionless mechanical gyroscope will pick it up. Normal mechanical gyroscopes have got quite a lot of friction, so that overcomes the Coriolis forces. But if you get ones that are frictionless enough, like, let me turn on my camera.
Oh, yeah, actually, I just looked at it because we're way over 25 people. It's totally inactive. We have to boot 10 people and play survival of the fittest to go ahead and do that.
I don't want to.
Don't forget, Foco actually did a gyroscope in which he used a microscope to measure it. So he did it with a gyroscope, with a mechanical gyroscope, and found exactly the same result.
Yeah. Hello, Rumpus. I love those dulcet tones.
What I was going to say, though, is that the Netflix special made it seem like, it was this totally unexpected gotcha moment. Like, no, but it's the exact result that they expected to get with the instrument they were testing, right?
It's not the result that Bob expected to get. That's the thing. I don't know why, because, gyroscopes have been measuring that 15 degree per hour forever, but Bob wanted to...
He said it before.
Yeah, what he said before was, if we could get one of these gyroscopes, we could show that there is no rotation to the Earth. So he was expecting to turn on the gyroscope and it not show anything. But the second he turned it on, it instantly started showing that there's a 15 degree rotation. And that for him was an issue because that wasn't what they expected. Then they had to come up with an explanation as to why it gave that result, and then Bob said heavenly energies, which is never going to stop being funny.
Heavenly energies. I mean, I think I probably agree. I'd call it something different, right? Ethereal drift, maybe the rate at which the celestial heavens rotate above flat Earth each day and out to give you the patterns of everything. I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't know if I'd call it heavenly energy.
But by what mechanism does the movement of the stars affect what a gyroscope measures? When you can show that a gyroscope is able to measure that by putting it on a rotating platform, right? So we know that gyroscopes do measure that motion. So when it's just sitting there on the Earth and it still measures that motion, there's only one conclusion we can come to, and that's that it's still measuring some kind of motion.
I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you the inner workings of a gyroscope that would register the specific type of motion that I'm talking about, and those that wouldn't, right? But I think that's what it's measuring, and it's a consistent measurement. And instead of dismissing it and saying, "Well, no, that's silly," I just say something else is moving above us at about the same speed that everyone keeps measuring all across the Earth, right? But for the pendulum part, if the precession is the part that proves the spin of the Earth, and you're saying it only moves at the same 15 degree per hour as all the other instruments detect at the poles, are you saying that these instruments at other parts would measure differently? Isn't that kind of a deal breaker for the whole globe thing? Because I know...
What do you mean they would measure differently? I don't know what you mean.
Like, so, Wichit's refutation to the gyroscope thing as part of Space Busters, right? He always says they took the same ring laser gyroscope at a higher altitude at the same latitude.
Yeah, this is a lovely claim, and no one's ever been able to substantiate this claim. All right, Bob claims that they took his gyroscope up a mountain or whatever and registered a slightly faster rotation. All right, now here's the thing: no one's ever seen that data. No one's ever seen a video or pictures of anything that could back this up. If this was the case, where is that data that this relates to? It doesn't exist. And there was no
we may be able
about
to
how it
it
happened or why it happened, and did they do it whilst they were moving? Were they stationary? That they didn't. There's nothing they told us about it apart from the fact, we took it up and it registered higher. Just believe us, please. There's absolutely no evidence that this ever happened.
The data that came in, the raw data that was interpreted, that showed wildly different temperatures, and there were different readings in the range of 15 degrees plus or minus 2. So there is maybe some correlation that's what happened. But he also manipulated temperature, and the ring laser gyros are very, very temperature dependent. So manipulating that.
You said when the raw data was coming in. Where is this data?
I think I was going to say, I think Biodual went through it, right? Like, he went through the data. We were talking about it before. He's one of the people that was laughing at Globusters first and foremost. He's our boy.
No. So the full context was Jeremy got it from the raw data from Bob in Brandon Toy's old server that became Geos. Anyway, he provided the raw data, and then a whole bunch of autards in gems got the raw data, interpreted it, put it into graph form, easy to digest information. I'll see if I have the raw data right here.
But I mean, my main question to FTFE and all the other Globers is, if that is proven to be true, if that measurement is taken, if it's different at the same latitude at a higher altitude, does that break the globe for you, or is there a globular explanation with the supreme backwards compatibility you guys are famous for?
like Bio just said, I've never seen the data, and I've asked for it and never been sent it, but apparently the data does exist. But like Bio just said, there was manipulations to the temperature and stuff, which is going to affect the machine. If you're changing the temperature around it, it's going to, physically contract or expand metal, because that's what temperature does. And that's why you need to have constant temperatures of what you're measuring. You can't put it in an oven and then a freezer and expect it to show the same thing, So
here's some of the data. I'm going to try to find the actual raw data, but this is the interpreted data from that.
Right.
But I'll try to find the raw.
Did you just post that in the main chat?
In general, yeah. The relationship between temperature and rotation rate, yeah.
But so sparing Bob's data completely, if someone else were to do it and make the same observations / measurement, would that be a problem for you guys? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Within a margin of error.
But yeah, I mean, obviously all measurements, all machinery that measures anything, they all have margins of error, right? So we have to look at those things. Is the variation within the margin of error of the machine? Is there any external influence that's causing this to happen? You know, we can't just go, oh, well, that data shows that, boom. We have to look at maybe why that data shows that and why it's the outlier as to all the other information that's ever been presented to us. Because, you know, gyroscopes on the ground register at 15 degrees per hour. Gyroscopes in planes at 30,000 feet also register 15 degrees per hour. You know, so why did Bob's, if it did register different, actually registers different? Why is it the only one that ever registered different?
I get the bias and the hostile witness thing, right? So, but like, if a measurement was taken and every precaution you just outlined as a concern was taken, and all the measurements were hunky-dory and above board and agreed, yet it still gave a different measurement at a higher altitude at the same latitude, would that be a problem for the globe? Would you guys be like, oh shit, something's wrong? Or would you, I don't know, figure out?
You know, I wouldn't ever say anything's a problem for the globe. I would investigate what was happening, you know, and look at. I don't go into things with a bias. I would so let's look at what's causing this, you know, and then apply it whatever the data says to whatever's going on. But you know that has never been the case. Yeah, and I'm just looking at the data. Has that got temperature data on it?
Aeroplanes rely on it working as it does. So if we get one result, someone does an experiment and it just happens to disagree with all the millions of experiments that say one thing, and you end up with one experiment that says something else, then that means that one experiment is wrong.
Or the data was collected in a different way that, like FTFE was saying.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, what someone was saying there is if they get one experiment or one observation that disagrees with the millions of other observations, which one do we believe? We believe the millions of others that we know are correct.
But I think the question also goes to, would you then change the way you're gathering the data for the other ones? Like, how do you know that that one's wrong and the other ones are right? What if we
aeroplanes rely on it. Aeroplanes rely on it working the way we believe it to work. If it didn't work, then aeroplanes would not be getting to their destinations.
Yeah. So we can test to see if these machines do what we say they do. You know, you can put one on a rotating platform and go, how fast is this platform rotating? What is this device measuring? And you can see if it works. You know, and like Rumpus said, normal planes have at least 3 on them, you know, and they all work based on that knowledge of the Earth rotating at 15 degrees. That's, you know, they use that as a reference to how they function. So, you know, like the data, you know, all right, I retract my statement that the data doesn't exist because I've asked for it for years and never seen it. But yes, the data is there, but the data literally just shows massive manipulations in temperature and tiny variations in rotation rates that are within the margin of error of what you expect, so it doesn't really show us anything. The device still registered overall like a 15-degree rotation, which is what we expect.
Yeah, the margin of error
shows a degree of 15 degrees per hour. It does show something, Craig. It shows us that the 15 degrees per hour is correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If there was no rotation, it would be 0 plus or minus 2. But in this case, it's 15 plus or minus 2. So
so what they're saying is it's at least rotating at 14.98 degrees per hour. Cheers, Bob. Thanks for that.
he was super arrogant when he released it too. He was super frustrated because Jeremy kept asking for it, and then he was like, you know what? Fuck it. You guys won't be able to decipher this anyway. I think it was like an hour and a half, and it was all there.
Why did it take him so long to actually release it? Why would that?
He did release it really quickly, Craig. Actually, he was on. It was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. He did give it to us all. And how do we know what the temperatures were? Because I don't recall him providing that information.
No, he provided all of the raw data from the machine in like a CSV file or something.
And the machine included the temperature, did it? Oh, I didn't realize.
I'm not 100% sure, but the autards and gems in a particular channel went to work with it. I think there was like 8 of them together, and they were throwing it in Python and deciphering it, pulling all the information. They were able to determine elevation, latitude, and temperature, and obviously rotational rate. But all of this information from the raw data.
Yeah, and I
see Sean G in I see Sean G in the Discord. Hey, Sean G, nice to see you. He was my second interview of an ex-flat earther, and no, I didn't call you a wanker. Please ignore the great Cornholio.
Somebody definitely sent me that about Sean G because I was trying to talk to Sean G and do an event. I think I called that something different, like, you know, the return to the dark side or something more ominous. But yeah, I'm curious to hear that story too.
Hey, Flat Earth, I'm going to DM you, and there's a Google Drive dump with loads of information. I think the logging _DSP file, I think that's Bob's raw data, but it's got a whole bunch of other data in here.
Right, I'm going to have to go through that and actually have a look at everything properly. But yeah, you know, plus or minus 0.2, that's within the margin of error of the machine, and still shows that there's a rotation to the Earth either way. So, you know, nothing about Bob's data in any way refutes the Earth being something that rotates.
It confirms it.
Yeah.
Hey, Flat Earth Data's here. I don't think I've ever spoken to you before, but welcome, man. I know FTFE
You need curvature for it to be a ball, boys. So what's rotating?
Yeah, we got
if you have no
curvature. That's no worries. We have plenty of curvature.
So if you're going to claim it's curve, and you're going to claim it's a ball, and you're going to conflate the Bob Nodell gyroscope conflating rotation, it's kind of awkward for you guys. Let me finish there, princess. Let me finish. So it's going to be a little interesting when you don't have curvature of a ball at the rate that you claim there's curve.
You say that, but we do.
Let me finish. If we can falsify the rate of curvature, which we can do so, what exactly is rotating? What size of the ball is rotating if we can falsify the 3959 radius?
No one's ever falsified the radius of Earth, ever.
So again, if we're going to falsify the radius of the Earth, would you not agree that there'd be a way to do it there, Craigie?
No one's falsified the radius of the Earth, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Again, listen to the question specifically. If there was a way to falsify the Earth curvature, there would be a boundary based on your model, feet and inches value, because it's curving at a rate. If I could falsify that rate, it would show that your radius is incorrect.
Yes, it would, but no one's ever falsified the radius of the Earth.
So how would we verify the radius? Well, you're claiming to use measurements and angular measurements, correct?
Yeah, we've also seen it from space.
I'm going to
go with all the pictures from space.
Of those measurements that you're using angular relationships to the surface, and you're calculating for elevation drop, well, what if I could show you another observation that would basically falsify your boundaries?
It is an invalid observation.
Yeah,
invalid observation.
There's never been an observation ever presented that invalidates anything about the globe, ever. All there is flat earthers' misunderstanding of optical effects like refraction and actually what measurements are. So,
again, if there's a boundary to your Earth curve, there's a rate of drop. There is going to be an elevation change over.
If there's a boundary to your Earth curve,
what does that mean? If I can falsify the elevation change or the drop due to curve, therefore you would not have a radius of 3959. So
that would be lovely if you could falsify it, but no one's ever falsified it.
You're saying there is no way to falsify it.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it absolutely is falsifiable,
because in your model,
but it hasn't been falsified.
In your model,
I'm talking. Wait.
In your model,
Flat Earth Data, take a breath. Take a breath. All right. I'm not saying there isn't a way to falsify it. I am saying that there is many ways to falsify it. However, it has never been falsified.
Hey, Princess, FTFE, what would you do to falsify it?
You could measure it. You could go to space and look at it. Using geodetic surveying measurements, using radar horizons, you go to space and have a look at it. You know, there's many ways.
If the horizon is due to physical nature of a ball, it would have parameters. Would you not agree? That's what you're measuring. You're measuring the parameters of your ball, you claim. Therefore, that has feet and inches values at a certain distance due to curve.
Yes.
So this is what you're claiming. Okay. Yeah. So if that's the case, that it has physical boundaries called the horizon, which is
the horizon is an effect of the Earth curve. Yes.
That's what you claim. Okay.
No, it is. I'm not claiming it is an effect of the Earth curve.
If we can falsify that, meaning if your model
it's never been done.
Let me finish, buddy. Let me finish. If I can falsify the horizon doesn't match the radius value, that would be a good indication that your radius value is not true, correct?
Yeah, you already said that, and I agreed with you that that would be the case. Awesome. However, it's never been done.
If we have a 1-foot observer, where does your horizon in your ball model, where's the prediction based on feet and inches value, not a physical or not an optical illusion or not something that is created by optics? This is a feet and inches value.
Are we assuming there's no atmosphere?
Let me finish. You have a feet and inches value based on sphericity of your ball. Nothing to do with refraction, nothing to do with light.
What you see will be to do with refraction.
Let me finish.
But do you agree that what you see will be to do
So
with
now we're
refraction.
talking about refraction. We're trying to falsify.
Do you agree? This is a yes or a no question, Data. Do you agree that what you see will be to do with refraction?
There's a combination of what we see. It's an angular relationship to light to the human eye. But beside that fact,
so it was that. Sorry, I wanted a yes or a no there. I wanted. Wait. I wanted a yes or a no. Yes or no. Yes or no.
We're trying to establish a boundary.
Data. Yes. Right. This is a simple yes or no question. Data. Deep breath. I'm still talking.
Based on your model.
You gotta be one at a time, right?
Data.
I just have you talking through each other.
Data. Once you've answered my question, you can continue. All right. Yes or no? Do you agree that what you see has to? Wait. Simple question. I just want a yes or a no. Do you agree that what you see has also to do with refraction? Yes or no?
Again, we're talking about feet
and
inches values of your model, right?
Yes or no?
So again, let's go get to refraction, but let's talk about the feet and inches value of your model.
Yes
Is the feet and inches value of your model due to refraction? Is the feet and inches model due to refraction, or is it actual physical boundaries? Which
what
is it?
You see? Are we talking about what you see? Are you talking about?
You can't have both.
Are you talking about? Yes, you can have both. Actually, you can have both.
Or you have a physical boundary point.
No, you can have both.
Are you claiming that you're measuring? Are you claiming that your model that you're measuring comes from refraction, or does it come from feet and inches value due to boundaries of physical curve? Which is it?
What you see with your eyes is also to do with refraction. That is not exactly going to correlate with the physical parameters of the Earth. Does that make sense to you, or do I need to say it in a dumber way?
If the Earth has physical feet and inches boundaries due to curve, what is that?
The horizon.
We're not talking about refraction yet. We're not talking about refraction.
The horizon is an optical effect.
Rumpus, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you, Rumpus. I'm talking about the feet and inches values.
Let me deal with this a sec, Rumpus. All right. Please repeat your question succinctly. Repeat your question succinctly.
I'm saying to clarify, if your ball has boundaries and that horizon is due to the boundaries of sphericity, that it would have a feet and inches value regardless of refraction. Now we can add in refraction because the horizon changes position, right?
Yes.
But we're initially talking about the feet and inches values that you claim that the ball Earth already has.
Yeah,
not refraction at this point. Let me finish. Not refraction at this point. So, if your ball Earth has boundaries, not due to refraction, due to the feet and inches values of being curved, then there would be a prediction that you can make based on that. The reason why you add in refraction is, because the position of the horizon changes.
No, it's because there is refraction. That's why we add in refraction.
Let me finish. Which is not a feet. Let me finish.
You've been talking for about 2 minutes saying the same thing over and over. Get to your fucking point.
It's not a feet and inches value. It's a refraction bending of light calculation.
Yes, that is the thing, because we're looking through the atmosphere, correct?
Yeah. So the feet and inches value, sphericity of Earth has nothing to do with refraction. Okay, number one.
What you see does,
if you have a radius, if you have a radius, if you have a radius, it's been measured, claiming to you with straight lines and angles over a surface.
Yeah. And do you think that geodetic surveyors don't know how to take refraction into account?
So again, if you're trying to falsify the curve of the Earth, a drop at a rate, you would have to have a radius value not determined on refraction, but actually feet and inches, correct?
If you want to falsify the radius, you would have to have a value. What are you fucking talking about? Right, let's just break this down to brass tacks, okay? You keep talking about a way to falsify the parameters of the globe. Present your falsification. Go on. Just do that. Stop waffling and present your falsification.
I'm kind of curious. Is the question being to FTFE? Are we able to measure the radius with just pure physicality, or does it require refractive indexes to come into play? And I think that's kind of the question that's being...
Thank you.
Oh, well, you speak English. That was great. That was a much clearer explanation, because everything that he said was just waffling.
He is a glober. So, I mean, there's...
A glober, yeah. I talk to these guys all the time. I learn their language.
Sometimes it's hard to think down to their level. Thank you very much. Right, so the measurements that we do of the Earth, whilst on the Earth, take our known quantification of refraction into account.
Did he just?
So again, if I'm going to falsify the radius of the Earth, I just want to deal with feet and inches values, no refraction. Is that
well
possible?
then you need to. Well, if you can remove the atmosphere from the Earth, then yeah, it would be.
Oh, so I cannot measure the Earth because of refraction then?
No, we just need to know the qualities of the atmosphere at the time, and then we can calculate the refractive index.
Why would we need the qualities of the atmosphere?
I was still talking. I'm amazed that I'm amazed that you have this little self-control that you can't even let me finish a sentence.
Why would we need to worry about refraction if the Earth has physical boundaries due to feet and inches?
Because the atmosphere is there, so we have to take refraction into account.
So you're measuring the atmosphere, not the sphericity of the Earth. Noted. Okay, so
no, you're not measuring the atmosphere. Do not strawman me. Right? Shut the fuck up. You don't get to strawman me. You don't keep talking. You do not get to strawman me. You do not get to strawman me. I'm talking, Flerfs. Data. I'm talking. I'm talking.
Would you account for this to be a falsification of your radius?
Data.
Give him a minute.
If you have a feet inches value and we add in 20% of refraction, okay, we're going to give you.
Right, I've muted you on my stream because I don't want to just hear you babbling whilst I'm trying to answer your question. You have to use the atmosphere and refractive effects of the atmosphere in your measurements because the atmosphere is there. That doesn't in any way.
You use GPS. You can use GPS.
Yeah, I'm just talking about using optical measurements at the moment.
How is he going to measure things? He hasn't said how he's going to measure anything.
I know. Let me finish my point.
Who unmuted you?
Sorry. I've just muted Data a sec, so I can actually respond because he wouldn't stop talking. So yeah, we have to take the atmosphere into account and the known refractive effects of the atmosphere when we're measuring from the Earth. That's a thing. We cannot remove the atmosphere. That in no way falsifies the radius of the globe. I'm going to unmute Data now, and here you can keep talking. Oh, someone muted him. I didn't do that. I just muted him on my side. All right,
go ahead, dude.
So to clarify, we're going to set up an observation. It's going to have a physical feet and inches value, plus we're going to add in 20% refraction. Now, they've already done it, Greg. Here's the calculation. 1 foot observer height, the horizon is 1.32 miles away. That's adding in about 20% of refraction. Would you agree with that calculation?
What do you mean about 20% of refraction? What does that mean? That's not how refraction works. What was the refractive index of the atmosphere on the day?
So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to add in 20% of refraction.
But what are you basing that 20% on?
What it does, listen, bud.
No, hold on. What are you basing that 20% on? What was the refractive index of the atmosphere on the day?
So first of all, these aren't my numbers. These aren't my numbers. These are papers that you can go read. This is what they've done. They added in about 20% refraction for mathematical calculations. Okay, so you can go look at it. So the calculation is 1 foot square foot. The observer height at 1 foot, and the distance is times it by 1.32 miles away, and you'll get what's called a horizon position. Sorry, it's 1.32 multiplied by the square root of the observer height at 1 foot. You'll get a horizon of 1.32 miles.
Come on, get your point.
This is what they suggest. Now, hold on. This is what they suggest. Now, if I have an observation that sees past that point, what did I just do? Did I falsify that mathematical calculation or assumption?
No, absolutely not, because you haven't told me anything. I'm answering your question. Let me answer your question. You asked the question, now let me answer it, okay? No, in no way does it falsify because you have not told me what the atmospheric refraction effects are and how much it is bending the light. You are just saying numbers without anything to back it up.
Okay, maybe you don't know the numbers. Okay, so I'll run through the numbers really quick. They claim that the Earth's diameter is 7,918 miles.
I know the numbers, it's cool.
Let me finish. If I multiply that by feet, 5,280, I get 41,807,040 feet. If I square root that, divided by feet again, I get 1.22459. This is a geometrical boundary. It's the 7,918 diameter. It's not based on refraction. The diameter of the Earth is not based on refraction, is it?
What we see, what we see is...
Let me finish.
You asked me a question. You asked me a question. I'm going to answer your question. Don't ask a question and then keep talking. Do not ask a question and then keep talking. That is dumb. No, you are wrong. You see the atmosphere. You are looking through the atmosphere all of the time. You always have to take refraction into account when you are looking at the horizon through the atmosphere. Please tell me the refractive index of the atmosphere on the day. I'm still talking, dipshit!
I'm not measuring.
I'm still talking, dipshit! I'm still talking, dipshit!
Physical Earth curve.
Oi, dumbass! I'm still talking.
I'm not measuring Earth curve. Then I'm measuring refraction of light.
Yes, you are measuring the refraction of light, correct? But you wouldn't have the horizon to see if the Earth wasn't curved.
You have both. You can't. Is physical boundaries when the physical boundaries can be falsified by the refraction itself.
Refraction does not falsify a physical boundary, you dumbass.
It does, because it's
no,
not
it
based
doesn't.
on
You cannot have something that is right.
Illusion,
stop
moron.
talking. Stop talking.
It's an
you
optical
stop
illusion,
talking.
Moron.
Stop talking.
Illusion,
Stop
moron.
talking. You cannot have something that is refracted if there is not something physical in the first place.
Oh, shut up! Personal attacks. This fucker here is calling flat earthers dumb and all this shit.
Well, flat earthers are fucking dumb. That's a fact. It's not an insult. It is a statement of fact.
Boundary. It's an optical illusion due to angular
stop talking and stop talking and let me explain.
You're a moron. That's why I asked you.
Stop talking and let me explain.
And you're a fucking
stop talking.
You don't even understand that at one point.
I'm gonna have to mute you again because you will not stop talking.
Let's have an actual conversation. Let's get question and answer if we need to.
Sorry, I had to zoom mute him for just 1 second because he doesn't shut the fuck up and let anyone respond. No, it in no way falsifies the physical parameters of the globe. You do not have something that is refracted if there is not something physical for it to be refracted from. And what do? We find out the refractive conditions that have been quantified for hundreds of years, and we take that into account in our calculations and say, oh, well, this is what we would do to remove the atmosphere based on the refractive qualities that we know. Oh, and look at that, it matches the predictions. Data, your ignorance of what refraction is does not in any way falsify the globe. I'm going to unmute you now.
So again, listen how it works, Princess. If you have a radius of the Earth, you've determined that radius based on an apparent position. That apparent position has either two. Let me finish. That apparent position either has two realities to it. It's a physical boundary due to the nature of Earth curve, or it's an optical boundary due to the limitation of eyesight.
It's both, actually. What we see is both. Yes, we can. It's
you
both.
can't have both. I'll tell you why. Let me finish.
You're being stupid. You can have both.
I'll tell you why you can't have both.
No, you're being stupid. You can have both.
Let me finish. Let me finish, you fucking retard.
Hey, stop. No, we don't need to do that.
The reason why you can't have both is because the apparent convergence of apparent convergence of anything in position in the distance is not actually happening. There's nothing squishing, squashing, coming together. There is no boundary there. It is an angular limitation to light in the optics of the eye. Number one.
That's all just nonsense.
Number two. If I wanted to
no, I'll respond to number one first before you go on to number two.
If I wanted to falsify the radius of the Earth...
Wait, let me respond to number one first.
If I wanted to falsify the radius of the Earth, that means I'd have to work in with the boundaries of the...
Right, let me respond to number one first, and then you can go on to number two. There's no point in scattergunning. That is not conducive to conversations, Flat Earth Data. So, no, you are completely wrong. You absolutely can have a physical boundary and a optical boundary, because that's what refraction does. It refracts the apparent position of the horizon. The horizon's there, we're looking at it through a medium, therefore it is refracted. It's as simple as that. Yes, you can have both. To say you can't is fucking ridiculous.
Right, but I think the question
is... It's refracting an apparent position, so not a real position to begin with.
The refracted is the apparent position.
Let me finish, Princess.
No, you just strawmanned me. 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 You just strawmanned me.
Let me finish. It's an optical illusion then, right? Because you're adjusting for an apparent position that's not actually there?
No. You are strawmanning what I said. Listen to the words. The refraction is the apparent position of the actual position of the horizon. Okay? The horizon is a physical thing. It's there. What we see is an apparent position due to refraction. It's not hard.
I wanted to ask Flat Earth Data, is your argument that it would be easier to prove that math if you could just lie about what the refractive index is to match the physical location? Because I think that might be what your argument was. I wasn't quite sure.
He's not muted. He can talk.
He's muted. I can see it. He might have to unmute himself.
I think he's muted himself, but
he's fine.
I mean, this basic misunderstanding that Oakley has been pushing for years of, oh, we can see further, therefore it's been debunked. No, that is within the predictions of what we expect refraction to do. We see something that is apparent because we're looking through an atmosphere, and then the light has to enter our eyes and be refracted again, and altered by our brain and decoded so that we can see it. Everything that we see is a combination of effects, of refraction, of data being compiled. You never see an actual
So it's an optical illusion then, right? Because nothing actually changes size, right, Greg? Nothing actually disappears. It just goes into a vanishing point.
Well, no, things definitely disappear over the horizon, 100%.
Let me finish, bud. Let me finish.
You asked me a question.
The apparent position and parent junction has been quantified into a radius value for your Earth curve. And if it's based on optics, like you just said it was,
no, I didn't say it was.
A whole bunch of effects.
I said what you see is.
As if it's not a real position, if it's an apparent position.
You know, we don't actually use the horizon to measure the curve.
As you just stated, it's an apparent position due to refraction, not Earth curve. You just said it.
No. I said what you see is an apparent position, not it is an apparent position. What you see is the horizon is a. The horizon is a physical thing. It's there. It's not apparent. It's there. But what we see is the light. I did the sharp and listen. Flav data. You need to listen, or you're not going to learn. You need to listen, or you're not going to learn. You need to listen, or you're not going to learn. I am responding to you. Data, I am trying to respond to you. Shut up and let me respond to you.
An angular limitation due to optics and the refraction of light, not a physical.
Right. When you ask me a question, do the courtesy of letting me respond. What we see is not the physical thing. Seeing something refracted, apparent, doesn't stop there being a physical thing. And we don't use the horizon, what we see at the horizon, to measure the radius of the Earth. That is not a way that we measure the radius of the Earth, so I don't even know what you're going on about. Right, now please carry on.
The radius of your Earth has been told for a 6-foot observer it's 3 miles away. This is a physical boundary due to feet and inches of curving bodied Earth. That's what's claimed, okay? If that is true, there must be a way to falsify that claim to see if it's valid.
Use GPS.
Is there a way to falsify the claim that a 6-foot observer...
Yes, there is. There's many ways.
Okay, so how do I falsify it?
Right.
How do I falsify it, buddy?
Here's a way to falsify it. You quantify the effects of refraction, right? And then you see what the refractive effects would do to the position of the horizon. And then you see if they match. If the refractive effects change what you expect, the amount you expect them to change. That would falsify it. Another way to falsify it would be to use... I'm still talking. Another way to falsify it would be to use GPS measurements or an apparent radar horizon. There is many, many, many ways to falsify it. Or you could go to space and look at it, and that would falsify it. But, you know, when we went to space and looked at it, it didn't falsify it. So
you want to keep going to space, that's fine. At the end of the day, we're looking at feet and inches values and added in refraction to determine a boundary due to physical nature of the curving Earth. So I was very generous. I was very generous. I gave you a calculation that comes from your model that makes a prediction.
No, you just went add 20%.
The prediction is in your model is that at 1-foot observer, the horizon is 1.32 miles away. This is adding in refraction. Okay?
No, it's not. All you've done is go add 20%.
Listen, princess.
Sorry, do you fancy me? Do you fancy? Are you hitting on me? You keep calling me princess. Do you fancy me? Is that what this is? Have you got a hard-on for me, Data? Every time you call me princess, I'm getting really, really flustered and embarrassed. If you want to send me a love note, then please send me a love note in the DMs. You don't need to keep expressing your love for me live on the show, okay?
So 1-foot observer height, horizon is 1.32 miles away. This is according to your globe mathematics based on a radius of 3959.
Yeah, you've said this over and over and over.
Let me finish,
you fancy me again. Oh, look at him. He's hitting on me. He's hitting on me again. Oh my God, he loves me so much. He fancies me. He really fancies me.
Put your studded soother in. Put your fucking GIMP mask on. Keep talking.
Oh, you want it? Oh, dude, that's a bit kinky. If you want me to wear a GIMP mask, that's my OnlyFans.
Yeah, don't make me imagine breaking a GIMP mask.
That's what you do, man. You GIMP for the ball Earth. That's your GIMP for the ball Earth, dude.
Seriously, go to my OnlyFans page and you can see that stuff there, right?
QNFP, you should do Craig in a GIMP.
What's the question? What's the question, though?
The point is falsifying your curve Earth, your radius. That's the whole point. Can I falsify 1 foot observer height, distance of a horizon of 1.32 miles away? If I can falsify that boundaries, what does that do to the radius of your Earth, Craig?
I have a question about Craig's OnlyFans. Do you wear costumes? Sorry.
It depends on how much you pay.
He's got a studied soother and a GIMP outfit. Yeah.
It depends on how much you tip. You can DM me and do requests and stuff. You know, selling my Bafor and everything. That's been flying out like hotcakes.
Flat Earth data. I'm curious. Your argument is going towards falsifying, you know, an illusionary horizon or a physical one. Do you agree with the globe model of refractive indexes, or is there a different thing you're going by?
Yeah, so if I want to apply the 7/6R, I can change the radius of the Earth, which, according to your globe model, appears to make the Earth flatter. That is what's explicitly described in this chat, but not in the academic world.
Yeah, it can make the radius appear larger.
Let me finish. In your world, in your debate, in this corner of the web, is the only place that discusses that. The end of the day, if you have physical feet and inches boundaries due to physical Earth curve, and we add in refraction to be generous, my question to you is, if I see farther than the calculation admits, I've only got two options. Either the radius isn't a physical boundary, or I have to add even more refraction than 20%. Which, if that's the case, it claims that the Earth is flat due to refraction.
No, refraction.
So you're telling me that radar? You're telling me that radar will flatten for all of this refraction? Is that what radar does?
Radar has a horizon.
Again, does radar flatten for all of this refraction that you claim that's happening? Even if I give you 20% of refraction,
radar is refracted.
If I give you 20% of refraction,
if you ask a question, let me answer. If you ask a question, let me answer. Okay?
Radar flattens for
refraction. No, you're still talking. Do you want me to answer? You're going to talk. No, you're still talking. You don't want me to answer, do you? No.
What does radar flatten for?
See, every time I start to... No. Are you going to let me answer?
What is it flatten
no, there we go. There we go.
He's doing audio chaos, right? Here we go.
No, I'm not allowed to answer,
apparently. The question. Go ahead.
I've forgotten what the question was because he kept over talking.
Okay. Let's make it, no interrupting.
Does radar flatten for refraction first or Earth curve? Which does it do?
That's a stupid question that makes no sense.
Oh, it does, eh? It does. When I look at a terminal tower in an airport, and I'm looking at my 2D monitor, my 2D screen, my 2D radar, what did the radar tower take out first? Refraction or the curvature to make it flat? What did it do first?
That's a stupid question.
Craig, you are a stupid individual. Tell him why. That's why you need to wear your GIMP outfit.
Why is there a horizon to your radar?
Again, a horizon is limited due to the diffraction of the signal bouncing off the surface of the Earth.
No, there's a physical limit to the radar.
That's why it's raised higher, is because less ground interference, you get a longer signal.
It's because it goes further over the curve of the Earth.
There
is a radar horizon.
When the signal goes out itself in a radial pattern, it hits the ground and then interferes with itself, and not only that, other obstacles in the way between point A and point B. The question is, does it take out refraction and flatten for either refraction or curvature? Does radar do both?
Radar is affected by refraction.
Oh, I know it is.
Yeah,
but does it take it out?
But it still has a fucking radar horizon.
The image. Does it take it out? Does it take it out? When I look at a terminal tower in an
and you're looking at the equidistant circle.
Does that radar map that I see for 100 miles? Does that radar map take out refraction and flatten for curve? Does it do that?
The radar map isn't a flat map. It's a projection. It's a circle that is the horizon of the radar.
Terminal towers are a flat radar map.
A circle, right? A circle.
It
Is it?
matches the conical maps used. So am I in a
No, it is a circle with a specific radius.
If I'm at a municipal airport and I'm flying,
Flat Earth data, let me talk.
If I'm in a municipal
Flat Earth data, let me
airport
talk.
and I'm flying a local
Flat Earth data, let me
airport,
talk. Flat Earth data, let me 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 talk.
Can you moderate real quick? Please, someone, one at a time. When you both just get into battles, it's audio chaos for everyone.
Yeah, he doesn't shut up and ever give me the chance to respond, so I'm just going to have to keep talking when he does. I don't want to mute him because that's not fair. I'm the one debating, but if someone has to, might have, every time he asks a question, someone might have to mute him so I actually get a chance to answer. So a radar has a circular horizon, a radius. That is because the limitations of the curve of the Earth get in the way. The read and radar towers are high up is because they can look further over the curve. I don't think you know what diffraction is, so don't bring that up because I will just embarrass you. Okay? Now, please, Flat Earth data.
Again, you have no argument, Princess. At the
Oh,
end of
you
the
fancy
day,
me?
if you want to look at radar,
you really
if you wanna
do
look at
fancy me,
radar-
don't you?
Now, Craig, you gotta let him speak.
No, if you call me princess, I'm gonna
If you want to
mock him
look
every
at
time he calls me
radar,
princess.
Princess.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
wanna look at
you
radar,
fancy me?
Princess.
Oh, he really
It
does
doesn't
fancy me, doesn't he?
It doesn't flatten for curvature.
Oh, look at the baby
The
boy
horizon
fancying
position,
me.
the horizon position that you're inferring is due to Earth curve.
Yeah.
If I have a 100-mile line of sight, 50-mile line of sight to that horizon you claim is Earth curve, and I look at my map and I look at the radar and the map match, which is just distance and elevation information. That's what the radar says. That's what my map says. But you're telling me Earth curve is at that 50-mile mark due to the physical curve of the Earth, but that whole 50-mile stretch that I'm looking matches my map and matches the radar tower, right?
And then it hits the horizon and can't go any further, yeah.
So listen, that 50 miles has no curve in it. It's just distance and elevation information. It matches the conical map that I'm using in my aircraft, the light wing aircraft.
Nice assumption that there's no curve there. Can I have a citation or a measurement of that, please?
So I'm flying 500 miles. I'm using a conical map at municipal airports.
I
I'm
just
going
asked
from
you
a few different airports. Hold on, I'm giving you a practical. I'm giving you a practical demonstration and asking your intellectual honesty. I've got 3 airports, 3 municipal airports. They're all 50 miles apart from each other, so 150-mile distance. I fly them in a triangle, and I use a conical map. That map matches the radar tower that I'm using, because all I'm using it for is distance and elevation information to know my altitude and to know the distance I'm traveling. That's it. Not at any time is there any curvature or spin calculated for it. So when I ask you, does radar flatten for refraction or curvature, is because it either has to for a 6-foot observer, or it has to do for a 150-foot tower. That's what you're claiming. So which is it? Do they flatten for the 150-mile radius view, or do they flatten for the 6-foot observer view? Which one do they flatten for?
What are you talking about? Which one do they flatten for? Refraction?
You're claiming a 6-foot
observer. You want me to fucking answer? Then
question?
shut up. Right. Okay. You want me to answer? You need to shut up.
When you go to the end?
When you go to the end?
Yeah, like if you go to the edge, if the Earth is flat and you go to the edge, what happens at the edge?
I don't think that was his question.
A dumb question. Hold on, buddy. Are we done with Flat Earth data yet? Do you want to keep going? I do want to hear you guys.
Wherever you are, Flat Earth data, you're going to have a radar horizon. You're going to have a limitation as to how far your radar can see. That is because there is a horizon.
I told you why that is. I told you why that is. It's invisible light. Invisible light is.
Yep, I was still talking. I'm sorry. I don't want to have to mute you, Flat Earth data, but when I'm talking to try and respond to you, don't start talking again. No, there is a radar horizon because there is a physical limitation as to how far the radar can see. It's as simple as that. No amount of waffling is going to change this.
Is the radar being diffracted, or is it just getting to the edge of what it can physically see?
It's getting to an edge of what it can physically see. There's always a diffraction limit for what's happening out there, but that doesn't stop you seeing further. That's not what diffraction does. Diffraction is just making something unresolvable from a single source. That's all.
So again, diffraction is an effect with all invisible and visible light. It's an effect that comes with wavelengths of light as well. You have different refraction lengths, different waves of length, or different wavelengths of light. The point is, Craig, is you're conflating your horizon limitation due to Earth curve when it's actually the diffraction of the signal, which means
no, it's
the
not.
signal.
What's the
Let me finish, buddy. Stop
Data, what's the
interrupting.
fraction?
Stop interrupting.
What's the fraction,
Okay,
Data?
so if you get my earphones ready here, dude.
Yeah, what's the fraction, Data?
So again, if you have a signal that's propagated
what's the fraction?
outward, and
Come on, let him finish.
How many times are you going to ask me, fucking meathead? So
Well,
again,
answer the question, what's the fraction?
If you have a,
You keep doing the same thing to him that you're complaining about, dude.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to troll him at this point.
The guy's a princess.
Oh, you
So the
fancy me?
signal-
That's lovely.
Yeah, I fancy you as a gimp, dude.
really
That's all
do.
you are. So yeah, as a gimp. That's all you are.
Yeah, I know you love me. You really want to see me in a gimp suit. I know.
You act like a gimp, dude.
I know you really want to see me in a gimp suit. If you really want to see me in a gimp suit, the OnlyFans is the way forward.
You're
We're
literally
gonna
a
have to
gimp.
start charging for the extra shit if you guys keep on like this, right? We're doing it for free on
So
public.
diffraction, right? If you're looking at a wavelength of light, we treat wavelengths of light as nanometers, and we quantify it as meters when we use the Rayleigh criterion. For instance, 1.22 over lambda over diameter will give you a diffraction limit based on the wavelength of light you're using. So just like wavelengths of light, invisible light itself has a diffraction point,
That didn't
which
tell me what
essentially,
diffraction
I'll give you an example. If you have a signal, well, give me an example. If you want to take water, go look at ripples in water, and then you add, let's say, like the diffraction, the double slit experiment. Go take a look. Here's a form of diffraction. Okay, the interference pattern is a form of diffraction. It's when the light itself interferes around a solid object and bounces off, and then interferes with itself, causing either a trough or an elevated signal. So either highlighting the signal or canceling out the signal. So in this case, when you have radar, they all are subjected to refraction and diffraction, like all visible light or invisible light is. That's why we've quantified the Rayleigh criterion. That's why we can use radar and use the Rayleigh criterion to determine the distance between two vehicles in the distance. We can determine that with treating light as an actual physical object that passes through or bounces off physical objects. So in other words, we treat light as it's actually matter that interferes with itself. So when you're looking at radar signals, let me finish. Right. Let me finish. When you look at radar signals, here's another falsification of your radius. Take two 6-foot antennas. Now, a 6-foot antenna that has a 5-watt signal has a radius.
Before we move on to something else, let's stick to diffraction.
Let me finish, princess. Let me finish,
Do not move on to something else, one at a time.
How to falsify.
We're still talking about diffraction right now. Don't move on to something else.
How to falsify the radar. How to falsify using radar. How to falsify the radius of the Earth using radar.
Sorry, we're talking about diffraction right now. Why are you changing the subject?
Take two
Why are you changing the subject?
Antennas.
Why are you changing the subject?
Take two 6-foot antennas because
Why
it's regarding refraction
subject?
and diffraction.
No, we're talking specifically about diffraction right now.
We're talking about radar and we're talking about diffraction. We're talking about it all. So how do we falsify? If you take one 6-foot antenna, let me finish.
Okay, you've talked for a long time. I'd like a chance to respond.
You got fucking some weird issue with
seriously, you've been talking for ages. You've been talking for ages. I'd like a chance to respond now.
All right. Look, he's not going to let you get it out, Data. Can you let him answer the first part and then go back to it if you could?
Again, I'm going to falsify the radius of the Earth.
One thing at a time.
6-foot observer.
Can I respond?
If you have a
one thing at a time. I don't want to do scattergunning. I want one thing at a time.
If you have
We're talking about one thing right now.
Antenna or a 6-foot observer.
Why are you changing the subject? Why are you scared? Why are you scared to talk to me?
All right. This is awful. Please answer the first part. Go ahead, dude.
Right, okay, so, no, that isn't what diffraction is. I asked you what diffraction is, and you said a bunch of nonsense. Specifically, answer this question, because this is what I'm talking about right now, because I don't think you understand. Tell me, specifically, what is diffraction, and then we can move on with the conversation. Thank you.
The Rayleigh criterion, if you want to look at how the Rayleigh criterion was done, it was passing light through a circular aperture. And when you do this, as light interferes or goes around a band, a circular aperture or an object, it creates a banding effect or discoloration or a loss of information. This is the fundamental effect of light passing through a circular aperture or going around a boundary of something. Not only that, as light itself, invisible light, bounces off the ground, in this case radar, it will bounce back off the ground and interfere with its own signal, creating the, I believe it's the trough, not the trough, it's the opposite of the...
You're talking about constructive and deconstructive interference, right?
Basically, you have a trough and then you have the The trough is the cancellation, and then you have the
constructive and deconstructive interference. That's what you're talking about.
The deconstructive is the trough, and the other one is the constructive. The point is that you have this pattern that is quantifiable if we treat wavelengths of light as nanometers, in this case meters, okay? So when we're looking at a radar signal, light itself propagates 1 over the distance squared. That's what light does. Light propagates in a squared rate function. That's why we can take the observer's height of this antenna and multiply it by 0.96 to get an apparent position due to refraction of this particular beam of light. Not because of physical Earth curve, but due to the nature of the light coming out. This is all written in all the manuals. That's why you have a line of sight calculation, which because light itself is traveling distance squared, and then you can quantify the height of that signal based on, you can quantify the distance of that signal based on its height. For instance, how do we falsify your radius of 3959? Or how do we even falsify Craig's claim that the 6-foot antenna stops at 3 miles due to physical Earth curve? Well, I'll tell you, all you do is get another antenna 6 miles away, and you'll get a line of sight between the two. In other words, now there is no physical boundary called Earth curve stopping the signal over 6 miles with 2 antennas with 2 5-watt radar towers. That's how you can falsify the radius of the Earth with radar.
Okay, so no, everything you just said was completely wrong. Diffraction is basically...
I have it on my website.
Amazing! As soon as I start talking, I just literally kept quiet for over 2 minutes while you waffled. The second I start speaking, the very fucking second I start speaking, you absolute dipshit, you have to open your dumbass mouth because you don't want to hear the response. Because you're a coward little pussy that can't shut the fuck up and listen instead of waffling for constant. If you want to keep calling me princess. If you want to keep calling me princess, that's fine, because as I'm pointing out in my chat, princess is a code word used by bottoms to indicate they are open for business. So please keep calling me princess. Right, so diffraction.
He wants to be. He wants to keep calling princess after he just did. It's a code word for being homosexual. Interesting.
Can you guys calm down?
Yeah.
Actually, do want to hear the answer.
This was really not easy on listeners.
Yeah, it sucks. They just need to go on a date.
Oh, no, I think Flat Earth Data needs to get laid is the problem here. So
would you guys just fucking get it over with so all the sexual tension can go away? I mean, come on.
Oh, I'm not the one with the sexual tension. I'm fine. I've been married for 20 years. That's all dealt with. But Flat Earth Data is clearly pent up. That's all I'm saying. Diffraction is basically when the signal becomes unresolvable and things that would appear as two become one because of the signal interfering with itself, almost like you said, but not quite. But a diffraction limit isn't going to stop a radar propagating further. That's not. It has a physical limitation as to how far it can go because there is a boundary. It hits the actual horizon. And it's as simple as that. And the calculations for how far radar can go, based on refractive index and diffraction limits and everything, matches the predictions of what we expect on a globe. There is no, this falsifies the globe, because it actually always matches the predictions. You can do an exact calculation based on all atmospheric conditions and everything as to how far that radar should be able to propagate, and it matches the predictions of the globe exactly. And there will never be a paper that says that a radar horizon is not a limitation due to the curve of the Earth. That's not going to work. Diffraction and everything comes into account, but the physical limitations of how far the radar can see is simply because there is a physical limitation to what the radar can see because of the curve of the Earth. So I'm sorry, but everything you said is literally falsified by how radar works, what diffraction is, and the fact that there is a limitation as to how far the radar can go. Simple as that.
So you're trying to double speak, okay, which is fine.
I didn't double speak.
You can double speak all you want. Yeah, you can't have something be blocked by curve and then have diffraction at the same time. How do you distinguish the difference between curve and diffraction in the limit of the signal?
You can still see the signal coming back.
Okay, but you're claiming that it can't pass a certain point due to a physical boundary, and I just gave you an example. You can go verify this yourself. If I have a 5-watt antenna and a 5-watt signal.
Can you present the paper for this? Right, you've already said this. You don't need to repeat it.
Yeah.
You don't need to repeat yourself. Right, but if you present that paper,
anybody
can
look it up.
Wait. No. Present the paper.
Anybody can look it up.
Right, Flat Earth Data present.
There's an MIT one on radar right now. I just posted the link in general.
Please
Right.
read.
So
I'll have a look at that.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, so here's how you can falsify a radius or a boundary due to Earth curve using radar. This is what they show you. They show you that over 6 miles of flat land, and you can't really have any hills or valleys or houses in between it because it impedes the signal. That's why you want to go higher to get a longer distance for the most part. That's a reality. So if you want to
looked at the paper that you're citing, just out of interest.
I'm not citing a paper. You said put up a paper. I gave you the absolute most basic one on how radar works.
That all talks about the curve of the Earth and everything. Yeah.
That is you asked for a paper. I posted
no,
a paper.
I was asking Flat Earth Data for his paper that he's citing.
You asked someone to post a paper, so I posted a paper.
No, I was asking Flat Earth Data to post his paper. I didn't just want a random thing. I assumed this was what Flat Earth Data was talking about. Has Flat Earth Data got the paper that he's talking about?
I'm going to give you a practical demonstration that you can go fact check yourself, okay? This is a distance of 6 miles.
Yeah, no, you keep saying this. You don't need to repeat yourself. You've already done this.
Hold on, Princess. Hold on, Princess.
Sorry, do you fancy me? Are you trying to show that you're a bottom open for business?
Not again, guys.
So again, over 6 miles of flat surface.
You've said this. You don't need to repeat yourself.
Stop interrupting him. Let him talk if you want his answer.
I've never gotten it out, dude. You keep interrupting me. So again, if I can show you a practical demonstration over 6 miles, and I can show you a line of sight between 2 points over that 6 miles, that would indicate what to you, Greg?
That you were quite high up and there was refractive conditions that allowed that.
I'm only 6 feet off the ground.
And how far is it?
6 miles.
6 miles. So
from point A to point B.
So less than 0.1% curve of the Earth. Yeah, that's within expected parameters. Yeah, no worries.
Oh, so I can easily display 6 miles of flat land on this Earth then?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's like what 9 miles is 1 degree. So 6 miles is less than 10% of 1 degree. So that's fine. I don't know what your problem is.
So
with
that. Radar towers don't flatten for curvature then.
Radar towers don't flatten for curvature.
If I can have 6 miles line of sight, there's no curve between the two of them.
Sense.
Okay,
are you talking about the plane that's created between the points? Like that would be the flat plane, but is that what you're talking about?
Again, if you're going to have a position A and position B and a distance between the two of them, there's going to be a rate of curvature. That must be calculated for because you can't have diverging verticals on a map, so you have to compensate to have perfect horizontal and perfect parallel zeniths. That's how maps are made. You have no deviating zenith. So if this is the case, I have a 6 mile distance. If I have a 6 mile distance, you're telling me that there's going to be curvature. You're going to claim that there's curvature over 6 miles. You just told me that there is no curvature. It can actually be flat over 6 miles. This is why the line.
You said it was the rate of. Sorry.
This is why this is an easy example. Anybody with a 6-foot antenna, 5-watt signal, and another one, they can have a line of sight distance between them over 6 miles. This falsifies the idea that a 6-foot observer has a horizon at 3 miles due to Earth curve. That's the whole point of the exercise. Thank you.
Okay, now can you present that paper with that exercise that you've just talked about, please?
So it's on my YouTube channel, Jack Stone. It's drawn right from their paper. They show you that.
Can you present it, observers. Please? Can you put the link in or something?
If you don't know it, get off your ass and search it. You're in this game to search.
How about you provide the evidence that you are claiming?
So I already stated something that's factual. Whether you need more evidence or not,
you're saying it's factual, but you're not presenting anything.
Because it's not my words. It comes actually from researching line of sight technology and the base minimum distance between 2 points at 6 feet. How far can you go?
Right. Question for you: do you have a scientific paper on this hypothetical experiment that comes to the conclusion there is no Earth curve?
So it's not hypothetical.
Oh, well, I was still talking.
Princess, of course you're still talking. Princess.
Sorry. Are you trying to say that you're open for business again?
Put your ball gimp in your mouth.
Are you open for business? Is that what it is? You're the power bottom.
Hi guys.
You seem to know a lot more about it than I do.
Yeah,
so.
Right. Hey, just so we can move forward, I do have my new friend Gleam here. I just met FTFE. Seems to know you. If you want to talk to him a bit, was that an exasperated sight? His name mentioned?
Gleam's
so
fun with the opposite. Yeah, I did throw up a little, really. But
I just met him. I think he's great. Welcome to the conversation.
He's not a horrible person.
That means you shut up.
I was still talking. I don't
Thank
know
you. Gleam, you just keep talking. Let Gleam talk.
Yeah,
I'd rather listen to someone else for a few minutes.
I was saying something, actually.
Shut
up! Sorry, what was that? Your mic was speaking.
We're all tired of hearing you.
Everyone is tired. You've gone on long enough. Let someone else speak.
Says the... You realise it's not been me that's interrupting all this time. I literally let people talk for minutes at a time.
You're still talking. Shut up.
No, I don't want to.
This is literally his event here, man. Cut him some slack.
This guy obviously doesn't know my rules.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
what's up, Gleam?
To us. Yeah, you cool, bruv? How's things?
Not bad, mate. I was in Gosport recently.
Is it?
Yeah, I went down to visit my friend. Lives in Southampton, so we took a wee trip down to Gosport, saw the old stomping grounds and everything. Hasn't changed much, has it, in the past few years? Claire's is still there.
Yeah. Fun games.
God, the amount of nights out, I wouldn't say remember, because I never remembered after going to Claire's, to be fair.
It is mad. It is mad. But anyway, Craig, you got to be blocked on your channel. Either you have or your mods have.
I've got some overzealous mods.
Long time. Goes round.
I've got some overzealous mods. If you email me the account that you've got, I will go in and manually unban it. I'm going to have to do a reset of my mods. I think I seem to have some that are quite overzealous.
Nah, you know the score. Come on.
He starts getting appreciation for this place, huh?
It's me. I've got enemies in high places. Let's say
that's
low
true.
Places. That was all.
Your mods are overzealous. Just saying. Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
You're quite quiet, Gleam. You're able to turn yourself up a little.
Possibly. Yeah. Give me 2 seconds. Am I there?
That's a bit better. Right?
You're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm just keeping low because A, I'm stoned, and B, I've got kids sleep next to me in it. Well, not right next to me, but next room. Just the niceness.
The niceness.
Yeah, I'm on some pink champagne. It's called.
I've got some Cali weed at the moment. It's the only stuff available.
Love it. But anyway, if you wanna carry on the flat Earth data debate, he was saying that he had this experiment. So that was to do with radar. If we go back to perspective-wise, I mean, on radar, you did say something which was kind of wrong. Yes, okay. If I were to give you you get blockage because of Earth curve, there is still attenuation. Like radar in airports only goes out to about, I don't know, 45, 50 miles or something, and then they can't pick up airplanes.
Yeah, so I mean, it becomes fuzzier the further it goes out. I mean, obviously, there's the relationship between the strength of the signal to the distance out. So it is harder to pin. It's harder to pinpoint signals the further away it is. Radars work on pulses and stuff, and the pulses can be the timing can be off based on attenuation and how far away they are. But that the computers that can take all that into account to make it slightly more accurate. Yeah, I mean, obviously, higher frequencies are able to go further past attenuation points and stuff. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
It's the whole thing. Yeah, it's the whole thing of you've got to receive that ping back.
Yeah.
You've got to get a ping back, and that is where you detect the curve.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Anything else above the curve, you're not going to get anything back unless there's a ship. And then
I mean, you do get kind of over the horizon radar pings with certain atmospheric conditions and stuff. It obviously, like any kind of light, it's affected by the medium that it's going through.
Yeah, I mean, you can even get the low frequencies, isn't it? Very lows that hug the Earth all the way around.
Yeah,
and that again, I mean, from a flat Earth perspective, obviously that is a godsend in as much as you can get a radar, fire it straight, and it will hug the curve of the Earth and run parallel with it all the way around, and you can even pick it up behind you.
I mean, you can't really fire a radar straight as such because it's not like a beam, is it?
It's like it's a mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Well, it's a mushroom.
What do you mean?
They
use radar and they use radar in court, guys. What are you talking about? The radar beam itself, if detecting, a guy used the Rayleigh criterion to get off of a speeding ticket because he said that the radar gun didn't have the strength and the strength to separate the two vehicles in the distance, right? So he actually looked at the signal the radar gun was emitting, looked at the diameter, did the Rayleigh criterion calculation, and showed at the distance where he was, there was no way for the radar gun to distinguish between the car beside him. And so he got off his speeding ticket by showing this. So the only way that that's possible is light travels in a straight line, and this is the evident truth that anything
in a straight line.
Yes, it does, because
light travels out in spheres.
Yeah. So when you could say that, you could say that it goes out radial, sure.
It does. I'm not just saying that. That's literally how light propagates.
Yes, I understand, and that's how you get diffraction of a signal, as well as when it goes out radially, and then it bounces off that object and interferes with itself, causing deconstructive information. So you're claiming that has to do with the boundary of Earth curve, and I'm showing you and giving you. I can go to line of sight technology. They have a distance between 6 miles. Now, Gleam said that it's going to be curving over the surface of the Earth. And that's the idea
that can't at high frequency. It can't. Put it this way: the higher the frequency, the straighter the propagation beam. Let's say, and the more power obviously you give it.
Yeah,
the higher frequency you can put it.
The difference is the amounts it's refracted based on the frequency of the radar. So
Yeah. So here's the thing too. I don't know if you guys know this, but each wavelength of light has a different refraction length.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Yeah.
Gleam, I think this is one of the few points where you and I are actually talking on the same side.
Well, it's the naval thing, but I mean, in my previous job, the way how I understood it is we used to have 1 meter antennas, and we used to have two frequencies: 434, which is your very low frequencies, what your car key fob operates off. So if you imagine the distance that you can get to your car before you can unlock it, that is the sort of distance you would get. But obviously in open air with Fresnel zones and whatnot, you would be able to get a little bit further distance because it's not hitting everything. But then we would also have a smaller, dumpier aerial, which was only about 6 inches high, which allows more, it's got more copper in it, basically more copper wire wrapping the actual aerial, but that will fire a lot more power into it, and that goes out at 169 megahertz. So that would allow us to actually cover the likes of...
What were you working on with that high power?
Well, we was monitoring, and oddly enough, you mentioned in Southampton. You must know that big clock tower in Southampton. As you go into the city centre near Toys R Us and the train station.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big clock tower there. My dad, he was the engineer who put up. We've got 3 of the big 434 aerials, which are a metre each side, so it's a 2 metre dipole. And then you've got a 3 169, which are only 6 inches each side. And it was all our custom built technology. We just ordered the aerials in from RS, Badlands they're called in the Middle East, in the Midlands. And the way I understand it is that the more power you can blast out, it goes out in a mushroom. However, if you have it at the 169 higher frequency, that will allow you to concentrate more of that mushroom, let's say, to make it more donutty and more flattened, where you get a higher proportion of the signal going out to the left and right rather than up.
Yeah, isn't that to do with position dampeners on the radar antenna, though, as to where it's actually...
It's exactly that. Yeah, no, it's exactly that. Yeah, you it depends on, obviously, how tall the aerial is, which is the wavelength you're going to get. So a
Yeah.
wavelength consists of a charge going from the bottom of the aerial, or it's normally the nugget, the holding bit, up to the tip of the aerial and back again. And that is one whole wave. If you look at it on a spectrometer or anything like that, that is literally what you see a wave as. And that is the charge, and that is creating the mushroom effect. But the 434s, as I understood it, was more of a mushroom cloud, and it was actually a radial apple, let's say, going out, whereas the 169 is exactly that. It's compressed, let's say, into more of a donut disc affair, where it's still going out sideways, but you get more higher power going to left and right than you would up and down. Basically.
Yeah, I mean,
was referred to.
Isn't that kind of the same, the way that 5G directs signals towards certain areas is by using that kind of directional
I think
technology?
it's just the difference between monopole and dipole.
Well, it's the two antennas and the signals they send out, and what each one would get back independently. I mean, I don't think you and I are disagreeing on anything, Gleam. I just think that
the interesting thing about the whole conversation that I thought about was FED is literally saying that you can get line of sight 6 miles, where that is the correct assumption. If you got radar out and you wanted to test it at 6 foot height, you would expect the curve of Earth to cut in regardless of refraction. You can use high pencil beam microwave and high power. You'd have to have enough power, but you could do a line of sight. That's what he's saying. Obviously, I haven't seen the thing on the website. But yeah, I mean, that is interesting. If someone's pulled that off, yes, you could put it down to, it's curving around the Earth, but again, what frequency is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to. That's why I've been asking for specifics on his claim, like a paper, a video, or something. And he's just like, go to my YouTube channel, which is a horrible thing to have to do. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemies, to go to Flat Earth Data's YouTube channel.
Drop it in the chat though, FE Data. I'm up for.
Yeah, that's what I was like. If you could just chuck it in the chat, a link to it, that'd be great.
All you have to do is just go research line of sight. But I'll just read you from their page, if you'd like. Like again, you want me to spoon feed you? When this is just.
I didn't catch what their name was.
The contention overall is can I determine Can I validate or falsify or the radius of the Earth at the dimensions it's stated, and can I show it over a distance of 6 miles that I don't actually have a physical boundary due to Earth curve, but an optical angular limitation, and I can use radar to do it. I can change my optics to do it. Now, granted, it has to be situationally perfect for the ground. Have to be, it can't be sloping towards water or have any really high elevation profile stuff. But for the most part, this is already demonstrated. And what's ridiculous is and why I keep coming back, I think, is just for the admission that if you can't section off a 6 mile piece of horizontal planar Earth, and you have to defend that doesn't exist, at what point does your audience catch on that that's just odd?
What are you on about? 6 mile planar Earth? Where's the evidence of a 6 mile planar Earth?
So in this example, they say, so according to the rule of thumb, 2 people around 6 feet tall using 5-watt handheld 2 radios used on flat ground with no obstacles will have an approximate range of 6 miles. Okay, that's just right off their website. Now, you're claiming that you have a horizon boundary due to physical Earth curve, and that's why things are stopped. So the idea to falsify that concept is to have you admit to a certain boundary limitation, feet and inches, and then we'll add in refraction to appease your, well, we have to calculate refraction because that's how we see the Earth. So we can do that, but the idea is, can we falsify the mathematics by having a practical demonstration and then showing another set of mathematics to falsify it? And the answer is yes, we can do that to both.
I mean, nothing you're saying falsifies the radius of the Earth. What you're saying matches what we expect radar to do. This thing that you're talking about, has it actually been done and they've recorded it and said, oh, this shouldn't be able to do if the Earth is curved? Is there actually a physical experiment I can go invest? Wait, let me finish. Is there actually a physical experiment with the parameters that you are talking about that I can go and investigate?
You know what's really interesting too, Gleam, is that if you just read
it was just a yes or no question. really.
Yeah, no worries. Gleam, if you read these prior, like Ptolemy's work,
okay.
they all admit they got all their measurements from the horizon, and they all admit that they put themselves at the center of everything.
Could someone in my chat maybe post the link to the video? Because the
idea here is to falsify the feet and inches boundaries by having a committed value on a radius that's not due to refraction, but due to the dimensions. Whether it's spherical for calculation of ease, or whether it's flattened, or whatever ellipsoid formula you're going to use, there has to be a method to either show mathematically it's incorrect or mathematically that it is correct. Now, if I can show that it's mathematically incorrect with an observation in two formats, one is radar and one's an observation with optics, which use fundamentally the same principle, wavelength of light, you can show that there's a discrepancy in what that Ptolemy suggested he was getting all his information from, which was the horizon. Which is begging the question, I think that the Earth's a sphere, therefore that's the horizon. And just like in the definition of Web...
So once again, you didn't answer my question.
Just like the definition of the Webster Dictionary, there's two of them. The apparent junction of the sky and ground, which is not actually touching. It's an angular relationship between the ground and the sky coming together in a refracted point. And you want to know why it's refracted? It's because wavelength of light itself is 1 over the distance squared. So all light is calculated in a square root.
So the explanation you're saying though is on your website for this flat Earth data?
Yeah, so it's not on flat Earth, it's just on Jack's own thing. And anyway, the thing is, it's not mine.
Once again,
I just copied it from another company that does line of sight technology, and they're just admitting that 2 6-foot observers with a 5-watt handheld can communicate over 6 miles. So if they can communicate at 6 miles, you're telling me that there's a boundary at 3 miles for a 6-foot observer, but yet they're being able to see past the boundary. So now is it going over the boundary? How is it connecting? Because it's called line of sight.
If the tops of the antenna are 6 feet high and they're 5 miles apart, the line of sight will form a tangent to the surface of the Earth that touches the Earth at the halfway point. But that doesn't answer my question, which I've been trying to get an answer from.
You say that. You say it's a tangent.
Once again, you interrupted me whilst I was talking.
If it's a tangent.
Once again, you interrupted me whilst I was talking.
If it's a tangent, this is exactly what Ptolemy said. It was a tangent, right? And the idea behind...
All right, Data, I'm sorry, but I've been trying to ask you a question, and you've just been completely ignoring me. So I'm going to ask you a very specific question, and I just want a yes or no answer. Can you present me an experiment to back up the claim that you are making that I can investigate? Yes or no?
Well, yeah, I just gave you a practical demonstration from this company that's talking about 2 handheld 5-watt handheld radios used on flat ground with no obstacles.
You keep saying that, but present it.
You don't need to be so excited. It's like common knowledge, right?
I'm sorry. Present it then. Present.
It's not my problem.
Present this paper. Are they just saying hypothetically, or is there an experiment? Can you give me an experiment to back up your claim? Yes or no?
So according to the rule of thumb.
So no, you can't. You can't give me an experiment to back up your claim.
So they have 2 handheld radios that you can go and do this with, that if you use it on flat ground with no obstacles...
You're saying that, present it then. You're just saying things without giving any evidence.
So I'm giving you specs from a line of sight company who makes
that is not evidence that something happens.
To receive and transmit a signal. So
right.
What's really
so the answer to my question was no, right?
What's so urgent in your voice that you do not acknowledge
the answer to my question was no, right?
This is common knowledge, Craig.
You keep saying that. You keep saying that. Present it.
It's not my claim. It's not my claim. I'm reading it from a company that makes handheld devices.
Present that company. What's the name of the company?
Okay. So first of all, are you shocked that
what's the name of the company?
Are you shocked that this is possible?
What's the name of the company?
Are you saying 2
I'm calling you a liar right now.
I'm saying it doesn't exist and you're a liar. 5-6 miles away.
What's the name of the company?
You don't have an argument.
What's the name of the company? What is the name of the company that you are talking about?
Go look at anybody who makes a 5-watt
No, that's not an answer.
Radio.
What is the name of the company that you are talking about? You said you are reading from a company. What is the name of that company?
Okay, so it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. Did you just lie to me? Did you just lie to everybody here? Yeah, you did, didn't you? You lied.
Technology is not new.
You lied.
Technology is not new, guys. So again,
yep.
Why are you
so he's a liar, guys.
Why are you so shocked
absolutely clarified that he is a liar.
Why are you so shocked and amazed and trying to now obfuscate from the reality?
I'm not. I want you to present evidence of your claim.
What are you excited about, bud?
No,
It's
you
common
can't present
knowledge.
evidence of your claim, can you?
It's common.
You know what else is
knowledge.
common knowledge?
Just go
It's
look
common
at
knowledge
two-
that the Earth is a
just-
globe.
Okay. Listen,
Just go
Flat
look
Data
at two
Man.
handheld
Guys,
radios.
chill out.
Oh, come on.
Do the simple Google
we
search.
gave
I'll
you-
give you your citation here real quick.
But we gave you like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I was
to
gonna
listen to
say-
a minute, if that's cool. If we could have anyone else who want to speak up for Craig, that we could. Now would be a good time. Anyone else want any questions for Craig?
I mean, it is common knowledge about handheld radio communication or radio wave function.
And so the abuse that I'm going through over something that's common knowledge has to tell a deeper story of why I'm being abused over it. Why am I being abused over
No one's
common
giving
knowledge,
you
Greg?
abuse. I'm asking for like evidence.
Dude, you're
of your
literally
claim, that's
cursing
all.
at me. You're yelling. You're literally listen.
Oh, you've been calling me
purpose-
princess this whole time, so shut the fuck up, you little dick.
Well, aren't you doing it though? You're proving yourself correct.
Hey, I'm done with this, guys. Sorry, let's pick someone else. Go ahead.
So there's a citation for line of sight, radio propagation not being able to boost horizon, pass the horizon.
Thank you, Michael.
It's in general. It says up to 6. It says it right in it. Up to 6 miles for handheld 6-foot observers. It's line of sight, so it can't go beyond a geometrical horizon. This is why we boost. It's another reason why we do skywave propagation in ham radio signals.
Yeah, because you're so good.
Hold on. I'm on the site right here, and like in the first paragraph, it says you often see ads for two-way radios saying up to 36 miles or more. If you search for reviews on these same radios, you'll find many disappointed people saying they can't get anywhere close to the advertised range. The keywords in the advertisements are up to this maximum range. It's more than theoretically than realistic.
Yeah,
so
and if you read down there, it gives you a more realistic range of 6 miles or more.
Thank you, Curve of the Earth.
So we have a lot more flat earthers.
We'll actually have a couple of these kind of radios, the Bofang radios. That'd be interesting to test, but
yeah, 6 miles to horizon would change the numbers for your radius. So
depending on the observer height, not really.
6 foot.
There's an abstraction.
It is 1.22 for times the square root of the observer's height.
But obviously, we have to
This
take
is
into
the-
account refractive effects and everything like that. So you know.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that geometrically speaking, that is the geometric equation, and then we filter in.
Yeah, so we can actually.
Did you go down to the bottom where it says equating, calculating the horizon? Because they've actually got that on the link that you posted, Michael.
Yeah, I know.
So if the receiving antenna were also 6 feet off the ground, you should be able to communicate almost 6 miles without obstructions. Thus, two people carrying a handheld two-way radio, the maximum communication distance on flat ground with no obstruction is approximately 6 miles.
Yeah.
It also includes here 6 foot 7-inch person standing on the ground. The horizon is 5 kilometers away. So they've got calculations for horizon on here. So if we're using like something like their experiment, it seems like they're already pointing to a globe.
Yeah, I mean, this is handheld, radios as well that are really not very powerful. The kind of thing that I would talk to my friend in the same street with when I was a kid. These things aren't powerful.
Well, the one I got, it's like an 8-watt UHF VHF handheld ham radio, so they can go a little bit further than those.
Yeah. Our handhelds can go further.
I did get the impression that data was presenting some type of falsification. If anyone else didn't feel that way, let me know. That's what I thought he was trying to say.
False dichotomy or falsification?
No, I thought he was trying to present.
I think he was pointing to the data as a falsification.
Right, and I think that's why Flat Earth was asking for that demonstration, because I think that was the impression.
To falsify a geometric horizon as a physical place. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But all of this it literally says, however, the example above assumes receiving antenna. This is all just hypothetical on perfect conditions
Actually,
and
no,
stuff.
it works in practice.
Say again.
It works in practice. This is why most technicians go up with their antenna to increase their angle to line of sight.
Yeah, you got to go higher to get a further line of sight. Yeah, that's what the globe says.
Yeah, and then we push to the limits of wattage.
Yeah. But nothing about any of this ever debunks the globe. Any kind of radar propagation matches what we expect to happen on the globe. That's the thing. And that's the question we have to ask ourselves at the end of the day. Is this what we expect to happen if the Earth is a globe? And if the answer is yes, then there is no issue.
Well, I would base this on intensity of signal.
Well, obviously, the difference in the strength of the signal will change how far you're able to get a coherent signal back and everything.
Yeah.
But again, none of this, the strength of a handheld radio in no way debunks the limits of the globe. That's my entire point. And radar calculations and stuff usually take into account the curvature of the Earth. When Flerfs' data, the entire thing was very confusing as to why he thinks it's evidence against the globe. Oh, Shane, I've just seen that thumbnail. I quite like that. Was that done by AI?
Yeah. I tried to give you an opportunity to correct it, but I also figured you wouldn't mind, right? It was called the FTFE Goon Ball. I think it's a nice, catchy name.
What AI did you use to get that thumbnail?
From a website. I think it's from Dover. Dover gave it to me, right? We used to use the Imagine bot in here.
What did you put in? Like Green Lantern, chess, like that?
Honestly, I didn't give it Green Lantern. I gave it Goon and Fight the Flat Earth, and it came with
it gave a Green. That is very obviously a Green Lantern. I don't know what.
I thought it was perfect. Anyway,
right. Still, nobody's debunked Foucault's pendulum. It's amazing.
Well, we do have Hammer here. Do you want to take a run at FTFE? Did you already do that? Have you guys ever met?
Hammer's fun. It wasn't Hammer saying that helicopters disprove pendulums or something. That was fun.
I remember that he took a shot last time. My bad.
You want to try again, Hammer?
Try again.
Yeah, you failed to debunk pendulums last time. You got any new arguments to try and debunk them?
I would say you failed to prove them. Pendulums? Was it pendulums specifically we were talking
Pendulums,
about?
yeah. Pendulums show the rotation of the Earth, and you said helicopters disprove that, which was laughable. So have you got anything else?
Well, why is that laughable?
Oh, because a helicopter rotates with the Earth in the atmosphere, and a helicopter is not a pendulum. They're two different things.
Does it?
Yeah. Why would you expect a helicopter and a pendulum to react the same way to Coriolis forces when a helicopter isn't a pendulum?
Well, if it's rotating with the Earth in the atmosphere, then why again would the pendulum swing?
The pendulum swings because you make it swing.
Ooh. Oh, so it's not showing Earth's rotation, then, is what you're saying?
The drift. Oh, I think you're very confused. Oh, that's cute. It's not the fact that it's swinging that shows the Earth's rotating. It's the fact that it drifts off of a straight line path whilst it is swinging that shows the Earth's rotating. Oh, adorable. You thought it was swinging that proves the Earth's rotation. That's cute.
This isn't data. You don't need to keep pandering me, but continue. What?
So, as the pendulum swings backwards and forwards, that straight line path deviates. If you're at the North or the South Pole, it deviates so much that it will rotate 360 degrees in 24 hours. As you move towards the equator, the period of rotation, t, becomes longer and longer. And you can use the amount of deviation from a straight line path to calculate your latitude on Earth. It's nothing to do with the fact that the pendulum is swinging. It's the deviation off the straight line path whilst it is swinging. Did you not know that?
What'd you say again?
I said, did you not know that?
Oh, no, of course I knew that.
Well, then why did
Everybody knows that, McToon. I mean, FTFE.
We look nothing alike. Or sound anything alike. I'm far uglier than him.
Globers sound alike and look alike. I can't tell you apart.
I gotta say, you guys do kind of look alike. But you don't sound, but you definitely look alike.
I mean, we wear glasses. That's about it.
Mick Craig, that's funny.
I don't know. I just find it interesting. You guys
FTF2.
claim. Oh, sorry.
All in due fun. No insulting.
I might have somebody down. I apologize.
So, so Hammer again. So, how do you think helicopters debunk pendulums showing Coriolis?
Well, you're kind of strawmanning me there. I didn't really point it towards any like pendulums, and then.
Well, that was exactly your when I brought up pendulums.
Specifically, one of the things that MC Toon brought up whenever, or not MC Toon, but what's his face, Jesse brought up being inside. You guys often bring up being inside a train, and we actually looked up some videos, right, of people doing tests of this, of like if a drone's going to follow the movement. And
drones are GPS.
Yeah, so that's going to be something. That's something that you guys claim, right? But you haven't actually shown it. In fact, it was quite demonstrated that the drone doesn't. It has. You're the one that brought up pendulums. My argument is just straight up helicopters and their behavior.
But you brought up helicopters as a debunk of the pendulums last time we spoke.
No, that's incorrect.
No, that's exactly
what
happened.
You actually called me out specifically after we talked to McToon because you needed to white knight for him apparently because he didn't do a good job in
I just wanted
what,
you to
what we said or something.
But
like
you
that.
specifically tried to refute the pendulums with helicopters. That was literally our last conversation. And
you're strawmanning me. You're mistaken.
I'm not. I've
you must be mistaken. You're conflating it with a different conversation.
These are your own words, dude. And you know it's on my channel. Anybody
you're gonna have
can
to
go
find
watch
it for me then.
It's in the 4-hour stream that I did last time I was here. That was our entire conversation was about you were trying to debunk the drift of a pendulum with helicopters, and now you're denying that. It's insane.
Absolutely incorrect, right?
You
asked me to come and speak. You asked me to come and speak to you because after we had spoke to McToon, right? So the conversation was just you trying to continue on what had happened after we had spoke with McToon.
Yeah, and then I said to you specifically, so you're saying that helicopters debunk a pendulum showing the Earth's rotation, and you said yes, and then tried to explain why, saying that the rotor takes away the fact that it's got conservation of momentum and everything, which was hilarious. The fact that you can't remember your own conversation is quite an indication of.
Well, you just said it right there, Mr. Fight the Flat Earth, is that you brought up, once again, the pendulums. You said
yes, and you said the helicopters debunk it.
Okay, are you going to let me speak?
Yeah,
do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with your mouth?
You're saying the same
thing. Being quiet when other people speak?
Oh, really? Me?
Is this Flat Earth data?
Everyone knows.
Is this data? Am I speaking to data now?
Everyone knows
Am I
my
speaking
rules.
to data now? Oh, okay. So you are one of those like freaky.
Everyone knows my rules. Come on, finish what you're saying.
Okay. I don't know your rules. I don't go to.
Everyone,
I
said them specifically last time I was here.
Again, I was not here for that.
You were. We talked.
I have a question about the drone inside of a train. If I could postulate a hypothetical experiment. So let's say we are in a train. It's real quick. Let's say we're in a train. It's going straight. It's going at 60 miles an hour. And at 60 miles an hour, inside the train, we decide to turn the drone on. How fast should the drone go towards the rear of the car?
Is this to me or to Hammer?
I think it's to both because.
Right. Okay.
Would you expect it to stay? Yeah.
Yeah, I would expect the drone to stay relative to the floor of the train. However. A lot of modern drones are GPS locked, right? So when you turn a drone on, it will register a GPS signal as to the position that it's on and try to keep that position by automatically adjusting itself. So that would mean that it would move towards the back of the train, which is what some experiments have shown. Like Daniel Pratt showed, he had this drone hovering off the back of his car and then drove, and the drone went off, and that's because drones get GPS locked to a certain position.
So where I disagree with him is in the idea that it's only because of the GPS, right? Any kind of drone that you're going to take off inside of a train is going to move towards the back, right? It's not going to keep the conservation of the train simply because it's under its own power, right? And once it takes off, it's under its own power. Thank you.
Why would it go towards the back of the train? Please explain.
Why?
Yeah, yeah. Why would it go towards the back of the train? What force is moving it?
The drone itself is moving it. It lifts off from the train. It's no longer a part of the moving train. It's moving itself.
Okay, so what does the drone use to create lift?
So this is where you go. This is exactly where I was hoping you would go, bro.
Let's just
I was hoping you went this route.
Let's just work through it. All right. What does the drone use to create lift? What's the medium?
That's fine. So go ahead. If you want to compare,
atmosphere, right?
and this is no. Can I speak? Right? Did you ask me a question? Can I fucking speak, asshole?
The atmosphere,
Thank
right?
You.
Yes or no?
Did you ask me a fucking question,
it's a
dickhead?
Yes or no question, dumbass. Is it the atmosphere that it uses to hover? Yes or no?
That's your claim. That's the claim of the globe model.
Well, no, that's how drones work. They use the atmosphere to hover. You
that's
know
your
that,
claim.
Right?
Thank you.
But are you denying? Are you denying that a drone?
No. Before you go off onto some other crazy tangent,
wait. Hold on. I am talking, dumbass.
Yeah,
I am talking, dumbass.
Because all you want to do is just
make people look dumb. Wait. Are you claiming? Yes or no?
Stupid. I'm just
are you claiming that drones do not use the atmosphere to hover? Are you claiming yes, Hammer? Are you claiming yes or no that drones do not use the atmosphere to hover?
I'm claiming that it is the globe claim that what you're saying is that they use the atmosphere.
It's not just a globe claim. That is aerodynamics. The rotors on the drone create a force against the atmosphere to hover. That's how they work. How do you think it's hovering? I can't believe I'm having to explain this to you.
Not about how I think. This is where you're going off into all kinds of...
I can't believe I'm having to explain this to you, how a drone...
Doesn't matter. The gentleman asked the question. I simply clarified where I disagreed with you, right? You don't have to berate me.
I do, because you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, there you go. And there you go. Get it out.
Oh, that's not an insult. Don't get me wrong. Let
him know the
that's not an insult. That is
a
description of you. You are fucking stupid. That's just a fact.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to ask: does any flat earther in here agree with him that drones do not use the atmosphere to hover?
You're inviting people who are probably disgusted by your actions, so don't be surprised if nobody interacts.
Oh, I'm
fine. I have a question for you.
Right, yes, please go ahead. Fuck me, that was hilarious.
I have two questions for you, Fight.
Yes, please go ahead.
If you are hovering a drone in the terrain.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say that again?
The terrain. If you are hovering a drone in the terrain. Yes.
I'm not being rude, but I'm having
if you're hovering a drone in a train.
If you're hovering a drone in a train, right, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not being rude. I just find it very hard to understand what he was saying.
Okay. Sorry. And the train is going constant speed.
Yeah.
And it turns. What happens to a drone?
As the train turns, the atmosphere will actually have a slightly different movement inside, and the drone will just move with the atmosphere slightly. But it's like it says if a train's turning to the right, okay, there's a centrifugal force applied on everything that pushes it to the left, including the atmosphere and the drone in the train. You know, if you've got a glass of water on your on your chair on your table in the train, right, and your train is turning to the right, you'll see the water kind of bank up, because there's a centrifugal force pushing outwards against the way that you're turning. So everything within the train would have a centrifugal force applied to it, moving it towards the outside of the train.
Okay, and when you have a drone and you're hovering a drone on the equator, on the Earth, why doesn't the drone goes up?
Sorry, say that again.
You're hovering a drone on the Earth, which is a globe, and you are on the equator.
Yeah.
It doesn't the drone move up?
Why doesn't the drone move up? You mean in elevation?
Yeah, due to centrifugal force. Due to a centrifugal force.
Well, because the centrifugal force at the equator is 0.03 meters per second squared. That's tiny.
Would you expect the drone's ability to hover at the equator to be slightly easier than it would at a different latitude?
Well,
based on its centrifugal forces?
Yeah, well, technically you weigh less at the equator, so there would be less force required to make a drone fly. So, I guess there would be a slight increase in battery life at the equator compared to the poles, but it'd be very tiny because, it's such a small difference.
So this is where his whole claim basically falls apart, essentially, because he wants to claim that the atmosphere is moving with the Earth.
Yes, it is, yeah.
But then when you talk about winds and stuff, so you're talking about winds that are in excess of whatever the speed of the Earth is at the latitude or whatever that you're at. Is that correct? So when you're talking about at the equator and there's a slight wind, let's just say 20 miles an hour that a helicopter could take off in, that's 1,020 miles per hour wind that helicopter needs to take off into, which no helicopter on Earth is capable of taking off. Thank you.
Why would there be 1,000? Why would there be 1,000 mile an hour wind when the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth? The weather systems that are on the Earth that have wind within them are also rotating with the Earth.
There's a better analogy here.
This is how insane that their claim is.
It's not insane.
Everything has
what you just said is fucking mental.
Relax. We can still be correct.
Go ahead,
Hammer, this is my analogy that I would use. Is that when you're in a car and your windows are closed and you're traveling 70 miles an hour, right? When you turn on your air conditioning, is your air conditioning traveling 75 miles per hour? Like at your face?
Yeah, it is actually. It is.
No,
it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Okay.
Absolutely, it is. The whole car is. Thank you. The whole car is.
Right. That's fine. The whole car is. Does your face experience 75 mile per hour winds?
Not from your AC, no.
Fantastic. It's the same thing when we're talking about the Earth. Is that the atmosphere?
Oh, so the Earth is a closed system then, your car? Is that what you're saying? We're inside of a closed system, like in your car with the windows up. Is that what you're saying? Because that's also what the conservation of momentum requires that Mr. McToon and Fight the Flat Earth don't like to talk about, right? It's prefaced with inside of a closed system.
That's fine. For small scale, we can consider it a closed system. That's fine. For large scale and all technicalities, it could be an open system. That's fine. But anyway, do you understand the analogy now? As far as
I understand that it's a complete red herring non sequitur in that the Earth is not inside of a car with its windows rolled up. Thank you.
If you just want to ignore, ignore the principle, that's fine. But you are ignoring the principle.
Actually, the analogy stands because
it's an ad hoc example. Try again.
The analogy stands because there is no atmosphere outside of the atmosphere of Earth, so there's no friction that's going to change anything. So it is a closed system. For the atmosphere, it's the same as being inside a train or a car with the windows closed.
Keep choking on them words.
Let me tell you a secret. If you put your head out the window when you're going 75 miles per hour down the road, you're going to feel 75 mile per hour winds in your face.
You stick your head out the window, right?
Yeah,
and
but we're ignoring the outside atmosphere in this analogy.
75 miles per hour at that point is because there's a governor on the damn damper door that keeps the air from coming in too fast so that it doesn't overcool or overheat the fucking coil. Come on, guys.
That part's irrelevant. That part's irrelevant. We would agree with you that if you put your head out. Right, we would agree if you put your head out, you're 100% right, is that you feel that air, because the air...
Like the car does, or it doesn't. And the air is moving with it, right?
Right. I'm currently explaining it, right? So 1 second, dude. So we would agree that if you put your head out the window, that you would feel 75 miles an hour on your face, because the air outside, relative to you, is moving 75 miles per hour. Because if you're just stationary outside... I'm not done. Done. If you're outside stationary, not moving, the air around there is not moving. If you then get in a vehicle that's moving, there's a difference of 75 miles per hour. That's why you will feel that on your face.
Mm-hmm. We could test this out, you know.
Test what? We agree to that principle. What would we test that we disagree to?
Who agreed? I didn't agree to that.
Then let's get on some type of an agreement. Would you agree that the air outside is moving 0 miles per hour? When you get in a car going 75, the difference is 75 miles per hour.
Depends on the day. Depends on the day. There's never no wind. I'm sure there's some wind almost all the time.
In this analogy, we're making it like we're putting the parameters on it. So let's imagine there is no wind, okay? And then we get in the car and we start moving. The wind isn't hitting your.
What do we need to imagine? We can just look at what we see.
We have to imagine because you are making it difficult. That's why. That's
Thought
why
experiments are an excellent way of talking through a problem logically. I understand if that's an issue for you, but it's how normal adults do things.
We're making it difficult, BioDuo. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I think right now, behind the principle of it, and then this specific scenario in which I'm asking a question of the atmosphere 0 miles an hour, a car 75, the difference is 75. Do you agree? That simple scenario in question should not be difficult.
They can't answer questions.
Difficult. What do you mean?
Well, no, here. I'll write down as we go, I'll make sure I'm writing it down on crayon so when we look back at it, it can point to the globe, explanation, see how stupid it is, but we want to understand is like
purple
the communication. You understand that this is like the thing we're talking about. Like, let's at least get that down.
What?
The understanding of the 0 mile per hour moving atmosphere, and then we get into a car and we move that at 75 miles per hour. We can at least agree that the difference is 75. And then we can move to the next point in the analogy.
Yeah. I hope everyone can agree with that. I think Hammer's having a slight difficulty with it. Hammer, do you agree?
No.
With what?
With the premise that's just been presented.
With what?
Which was what?
Oh my god.
Shouldn't
this is why I'm going to have a stroke by the age of 50, guys.
Well, you really shouldn't take other people's opinions so seriously, bro. You
should
kind of like have
weed and chill.
That was a joke. I don't know if humor's heard around these parts, but that was just a joke.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I do jokes.
Yeah, jokes are funny.
I remember that.
Surgeon General got it.
Was it funny?
I thought so.
2022, jokes are dead.
Oh, don't cancel me because I did a stroke joke. Fuck's sake.
Joke.
Stroke
Only
joke.
glow people cancel, I think. To be honest.
So what is it that I'm not getting that you want to know?
Okay, do you agree that assuming 0 mile an hour wind, that when you got in a car and drove 75 miles an hour, it would feel like there was a 75 mile an hour difference in the wind if you stuck your hand out? So from 0 to 75 miles an hour, you're going to feel that difference, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're all on the same page. Let's move forward.
In that same regard, if there was a 75 mile an hour wind traveling north, moving north, however you want to describe it, but moving north, and then you get in a car going 75 miles an hour north, then you stuck your hand out. What would you expect to feel, given your understanding?
There was what? Something.
So there's wind outside, the atmosphere, the air, there's wind. However, the air outside is traveling 75 miles an hour north. Within that medium, you're in a car traveling 75 miles per hour north as well. What would you expect to feel when you put your hand outside the window?
That's a good question. I don't quite know, BioDuo. Would it negate it? Or
I'm not going to say correct or of course or anything. I would expect to feel as if I were stationary and the outside were stationary, because the difference between the air and my car is 0.
Yeah.
So that I would not expect a force to be hitting my.
Obviously, we're making the assumption here that the car and the wind are going exactly the same speed in exactly the same direction, and there's no turbulence or anything, right? So that's what he means. In that circumstance, it would feel as though you there was no wind if you stuck your hand out of the window. Do we agree with that?
Maybe. So just to clarify here, the car in your example is the Earth?
Nope, the car right now is the car.
Well, I mean, you're comparing it to something, so I'm just trying to like get.
I know we're almost there. We're almost there, but we have essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to agree to a number of premises. Then I'm going to go into something else, and we have to accept the conclusion based on that. Yeah.
Just 1 second. Wolves, who made that meme? Because that's fucking hilarious.
The one, are you fat and skinny?
Yeah, I've lost so much weight since then.
That is a good one.
That's hilarious. Like, whoever made that is fucking brilliant. That's going in my folder.
So let's pretend like we agree that if there's a zero difference between the air outside our car and then the car moving, if there's a zero difference, there is no force. So let's assume we agree to that. Now we can apply it to the Earth. Within the globe model, within our explanation, within all of that, the Earth is moving in a particular direction with a particular rotational rate. The atmosphere is also doing that. There is a zero difference. So when you say there should be a 1,020 mile per hour wind, no, because again, there's no difference. It's zero. Only when you add this 20 mile per hour wind is there a difference, meaning the difference is 20 miles per hour.
I mean, that's nice. You kind of wrapped it all up and you put a little bow on it, but
I thought it was pretty good, to be honest.
If only your words made it true, buddy. You know?
I mean, no. That's the thing, is that I'm not making reality true, and I'm not making the globe position true by just saying those words. What I'm doing is making sure that you don't misrepresent the globe. That's all that was.
Oh, you're the globe defender. You don't want anybody strawman in the globe.
I don't want anyone strawmanning anybody.
Akuma virus level, bro. That's what Akuma virus is.
I don't want anybody to misrepresent anybody.
Well, there is a lot of strawman in the globe. That's kind of the majority of flat Earth arguments is some kind of strawman of the globe, right?
No, I think that's a projection.
You wouldn't want me to misrepresent flat Earth or your position, right? That would be that would be bad on my part, right? And then if I did that, you would want to correct me.
Free man, right? You can do whatever you want.
Right, but you would want to correct me. And that's all I'm doing, is that whether the globe is true or not, whether the model is true or not.
As much as I wanted to correct you guys, it hasn't changed anything about what you guys do, right? You still got this character here.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But you need to understand the argument before you can try to break it.
I don't need to understand the argument.
Oh, you absolutely do. You can't argue against something if you don't understand
it. The beginning of the argument, right? Like, it doesn't... you guys... The problem is you guys just make up stuff. Stuff's made up every single day.
Like what? What's
say,
made up?
Oh, this is new. Right?
Give us an example.
How about the idea that the wisps of the atmosphere extend all the way out to the moon? That was pretty recent, wasn't it?
That's been measured.
How about the idea that Earth is an oblate spheroid, right?
That's also been measured.
Recent. How about... Yeah, I'm sure it has, buddy.
Yeah,
you see how he just has to constantly talk over people? You ask me a question, I'm speaking, and you just fucking diarrhea out your goddamn mouth. You know what I mean? It's disgusting, bro.
I was just responding to you. I'm sorry, you were saying
things. What about the wisp going to the moon?
Hey, don't forget how you have the astronauts seeing stars and some do not. You know.
Oh yeah, they couldn't remember if they saw stars or not. Thank you.
You could totally see the stars and the molecular clouds or whatever they call them. Yeah, and then the other astronaut. Oh no, you can't see stars at all.
It was the flat earthers themselves. It was the flat earthers themselves that suggested that we need to go back to the moon. They were talking about going back to Mars when all this first started because that's where they want to go, right? And they were like, oh, there's no reason to go back to the moon, right? We would bring up the fact that, hey, isn't the moon a lot closer? So if you want to go all the way to Mars, wouldn't it be better to try and do it on the moon first so that you're being a little bit safer? Oh, no, we just want to go all the way out to Mars. There's no, and now all of a sudden... Artemis SLS.
Whoever said
just
that.
A couple months ago, they were talking about how nobody makes Saturn V rockets anymore. Saturn V rockets. Where are the Saturn V? Nobody's making Saturn V rockets, so we're not going back to the moon. And then all of a sudden, Artemis SLS comes out of fucking nowhere with a freaking
nowhere. It's been in development for 10
SRBs
years.
from the freaking space shuttle and the freaking big ass freaking fuel tank with some
What do you mean
welded
out of nowhere?
on fucking extension and some freaking capsule that was donated from where again?
Seriously, what do you mean out of nowhere?
Listen, Hema. You had way better CGI if it was fake.
No, yeah, you're right. You could tell it's real because it looks so fake, bro.
Yeah, exactly. We had way better CGI when it was fake, so it must be real.
Like, you have to be an absolute lunatic to continue to believe in 2022 that you're living on a spinning ball in space, buddy. Welcome to Flat Earth, sir.
No, because it's, all the evidence shows that we are actually on a globe in space.
Real quick,
Keep
before
repeating
I leave,
it, bro.
I mean, you can't refute my pendulum evidence that shows the Earth's rotating.
Yeah.
Not one person can.
Pendulum.
You're always holding on to one branch. That's what you globals do.
Oh, I mean, I only need one thing. I only need one thing to show that the Earth is a rotating globe, and then done. And that's it. I need one thing.
See, you gotta stick to one. You stick to one thing as your main source of reasoning, but everything else you're just gonna discard, wave it off with your hand.
Oh no, I never discard anything. I examine everything critically.
If we have astronauts on strings, if we have CGI glitches, that's not important. What is important is that the pendulum shows me that the Earth
When has there
must
ever
be
been a
moving.
CGI glitch? There's never been one.
Yeah. See, you're just hand waving everything.
That's not a hand wave. No one has ever
Yeah,
shown
it
me
is.
a CGI glitch.
Yeah, come on, don't lie, man.
No, I mean, you have compression artifacts in videos. That's not a CGI glitch.
Exactly. Compression artifacts.
Yeah, those things exist. I got compression artifacts in some of my videos.
Yeah,
Am I
let's
CGI?
let's not talk about the astronauts hanging on strings where someone grabs
Okay, no one's
invisible
ever shown
string.
me the strings. Ever.
Yeah. See, that's always the same arguments from you guys, you know?
Oh, no,
Literally.
sorry, the argument of I've never been shown strings is a pretty good one.
No, it isn't.
It is, because if I've never been shown strings, then there's no strings. If there were strings, people would be able to show me strings.
Hey, let me ask my fellow Flat Earth members, when you're still globers, or some of you, have you also seen the NASA messed up videos where astronauts are on strings, or an astronaut grabbing something that isn't there, or am I hallucinating?
Well, NASA took me a good it took me a whole night, I think, to debunk. The rest of it was much harder. Go ahead.
Did you actually see a wire though?
No, they've never seen a wire.
You guys, it's funny that you guys have never seen wires, but we have. We must be making
No.
wires
You imagine that there's wires there, but no one has ever pointed out any wires.
Absolutely, man.
Someone grabbing someone's pant loop.
Hey, you want to watch a video with me? I can literally stream it, and you can see many.
Okay, well,
you want to do that?
right on the condition that we go clip by clip.
Nah. We're gonna watch the full thing, and then you can tell me if there's no astronauts on the wires.
Why won't you go clip by clip?
Nah, I already did this with my brother, man, and it's just unbelievable. People just can't watch one thing.
Why
and then
won't you go
afterwards
clip by
discuss it.
clip? Why are you scared to discuss your own evidence?
I don't want to go clip by clip. I want to go through the whole video, and then afterwards you can talk about, even go back to the clips and go clip by clip. But first of all,
why would we watch it twice? Why don't we just go clip by clip at the start? Doesn't that make a lot more sense?
We've seen every claim you guys have made about these images, so why go through all of them again?
Because I want to specifically talk about each clip that they're bringing up as evidence. What's wrong with that?
And what's wrong with watching the video before we start making
how long is the video?
Why is
I think what's wrong with that is that we have over 6 hours of footage. So I mean, like, how much time we got?
So here's the thing, right? A lot of these videos will be by other YouTube channels, and I'm streaming right now, and if I just play like 3-4 minutes of someone else's video, I will get copyright struck. But if we go clip by clip and discuss them, then I won't, because that's classed as, constructive and stuff, right? So it makes a lot more sense for both the conversation and the stream to just go clip by clip and discuss them.
One second, let me clarify. We can do it, but I just want to know, has no one ever showed you the clips where you literally have, for example, I can send in the GIF, for example, where an astronaut is grabbing another astronaut's harness that is invisible, and he's even even by the force of grabbing it, he's moving the other astronaut.
Yeah. I know exactly the one that you. I know exactly the clip you're talking about, where the guy puts his finger in his belt loop.
Can I ask a question?
Maybe we just
And there's physics going on. There's things going on in that
second.
clip that would be impossible under a gravitational acceleration.
Before we get away from copyright strike, I got a question for you, man. I know that when you came here, did your debate with Witsit, and then he did like a debrief on his channel when he's like looked at your video. He claimed that you gave him a copyright strike for that. Is that true?
No. I've not copyright struck anyone. That is not true in the slightest.
Huh.
100% not. There's a chance if he was to play my stream, including the music on my stream, that music is copyrighted by a service that I use. Right, my intro. My music that was written from me, that is copyrighted and in the YouTube system. The music that I use for my flashy graphics is copyrighted by the people that I pay money for to use their music, and that would be an automatic thing by YouTube. But no, I 100% have not done any kind of copyright strike of any.
Yeah, sometimes it could be something in the video. Like I've gotten copyright strikes from using when Ranty was doing his show. I got a copyright strike from something on his channel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I heard Witsit say it, and I said, well, if Craig did that, that's kind of a dick move, and I wanted to ask him,
100% not. I give flat earthers permission to use my stuff, right? They are not allowed to just take my streams and upload them, but they're 100% allowed to, do what Witsit did and, do a breakdown. So that's perfectly fine. That is actually classed as fair use, and me copyright striking that would be bad for me. That I would actually get in trouble with YouTube for doing that. No, I would 100% not, if someone has copyrighted him, it was not me. And if it's an actual copyright strike, then Witsit would have received an email with the email of the person that did it. So, no.
All right, I mean, I'm sure, like, it didn't happen to me, right? But I heard him say it, and I'm like, if that's true, I got to ask Craig. So I just figured I'd throw it out there. Thanks, man. Go ahead, guys.
No, I'll contact Witsit myself and check that he knows that I did not copyright strike him.
Question about that clip about grabbing the wires. If anybody wants to try and answer it.
This is the problem with when they censor it.
It's a pendulum wire.
Is there a possibility that he was just grabbing at a belt loop?
I don't know. You grab your friend's belt loop.
You can see that happen. You can see his finger go into it.
First of all, why would he do it? And second of all, why is the other astronaut reacting with his facial expression the way he is reacting to it?
Well,
and we can see that listen, when you would grab someone in that belt thing, you would use 2 of your fingers and do it precisely. He is grabbing with 4 fingers, if not 5, and you can see how they're being restrained. Okay, which means that they're grabbing something, and you can't tell me that you're gonna use 4 of your fingers to grab the belt thingy.
Okay, so
you're literally hanging on one. Hold on, I'm sorry, Craig. So you're literally hanging on one clip where you think you see somebody grabbing
it's not one clip, man.
Hold on.
Someone just said 6 hours of footage material we have of NASA.
Hold on. You look at something, you think you're actually seeing a wire, right? But yet
I see a wire.
I'm not done. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos of these astronauts going through portals, doing experiments with water. You're seeing their hair float all over the place. So where are the wires when it comes to those things?
Dude, have you ever seen how wires work?
Yeah, I know how wires work. Not like that.
Yeah, they look like wires.
Yeah, not like that.
But the hair part of it, though, is a pretty good point, though. Like, how does
not just hair, but their jewelry and stuff that's all like.
Yeah, how does using wires to float around is one thing, but how do they get their hair and their jewelry to float around as well?
And not get tangled in the wires.
Yeah. But specifically,
you can see that they're getting entangled.
Okay,
and direction, it's just funny, man.
So specifically in that clip you're talking about, right, what happens is as the guy's doing the flip, the astronaut standing next to him realizes that he's drifting off to the right, which is something that couldn't happen on Earth anyway, with being pulled down. You wouldn't just drift to the right like that if you're on strings. So the astronaut, without looking, goes to grab, and the only thing that grabs is his finger, which it either goes into a belt loop or into his pocket. You're not sure, but you can see the material that his finger has grabbed as he moves him. And because there is no, gravitational acceleration pulling them down at that point, it's very easy for him to move him. The look on the guy's face was like, "Oh, I've just done a flip. Wasn't that cool?" That's it. There's nothing. What's happening in that clip actually debunks the claim that it could have been done on strings on Earth, because there's physics going on there that are impossible.
That's not true.
No, it is true.
Look at the zero gravity machine actually created by NASA themselves. They have footage of it. It behaves. They even claim that the anti-gravity machine, where you can hang yourself on strings, that behaves exactly to every input you do, like it would be in zero gravity. It's what they say themselves.
Anti-gravity machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a machine where you have a motor, where you have a motor where you're gonna hang on it, and whatever input you do, if you would use your finger to bump against something, that motor will move you into the direction as if you were in zero gravity. It's what they.
In reality, when people are hanging from wires and they move to one side, what happens then? Don't they?
You don't know how the technique works, man. You just think it's just wires, as if there's nothing more behind it.
Don't they swing back in the other direction though?
All right.
Why would he have to grab him?
Earth is life. You take this away for a sec. I need to nip to the toilet. So you keep destroying them, all right?
Yeah. So wouldn't he just swing back in the other direction? Just hang on a wire?
Try to destroy 6 hours of footage material. I want to see that.
6 hours of cherry picked.
I want to see a globe. I want to see a globe do that with 6 hours of material, which we have.
I could watch all 6 hours, and I guarantee you, I won't see one wire.
What about when you if they're on wires? Okay, because I've seen them go from one capsule. What's that?
Unbelievable, you guys are unbelievable.
My question that I didn't finish?
No, I think it's just unbelievable how you guys come up with stories to justify something that is obviously not what it is.
Oh, you show me an actual wire and we'll talk. Not something that looks like it might.
Stop this freaking video and see that he's grabbing with all of his hands a wire, and the facial expression just says it all. If you're too blind to see that, I'm not sure if I can help you. Then you're actually, sorry to say this, but you actually don't have probably the ability to see facial expression of people getting caught by something,
Okay.
Did you see a wire? Did you physically see a wire?
No, they did not.
No, because it's freaking cut out, man.
It's cut out. Are you sure?
It's digitally manipulated, man.
Any evidence of that?
Sure are you about that?
Yeah, the evidence is that someone is grabbing something that is not there. It's invisible.
He grabs his pocket. That's not invisible.
Dude, he's not. Look at the video, man.
Yeah, I've watched the video many times. I've watched the video many times. I'm going to play it here on my stream now so they can see it. And
I've just posted one in chat as well.
I'm sorry. Just saying you think it looks like a wire isn't seeing a wire.
Dude,
actually
I'm not saying I think it looks like a wire. I can see that he uses his full hand to grab something that is not there. I don't see any belt, ring, or whatever you imagine it to be.
You can literally see, I'm watching it right now, you literally see the material of his trousers get pulled by his finger. You literally see that.
The material is being pulled because there's a string being attached through the clothing.
There's no string there, and his hand, actually, if you look at it right now, when he grabs it, his hand is at an angle, so if there was a string going through that string would also be an angle whilst also holding him up at the air. That's physically impossible.
Also, would the wires be attached to his belt loop?
What?
Would the wires be attached to his belt loop?
No, and I don't know how the wires are attached, man. I'm not the one who's making the Hollywood set.
How weak of an argument this is.
Yeah. Right, I'm watching it right now on my stream. I'm watching it right now. Hold on.
The only thing you guys can give to the stage is, he's probably clinging onto this man's belt ring.
Yeah, right. Called. So if you go to 18 seconds in the video that was posted, Wires NASA Lies, right, you can see exactly where his finger goes into the material on his pocket. 18 seconds. That debunks you. I'm sorry. I'm playing it right now at 0.25 seconds times speed on my stream, right? And you can see that there is material that gets pulled by his finger. There's no wires. Here we go. You watch it go in, and you see his finger slip behind, and it pulls up with his finger at 18 seconds. Sorry, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. You can already see that the material is up when he's doing his flip. You see that it's in this weird angle, which makes no sense at all. And then he grabs above it. And I don't see it. Look at the flip when he's doing the flip, man. You don't see anything that would suggest that there is something he can grab. Then he grabs above this weird thing of the trousers going up, and then the guy moves.
The ruffle on his trousers.
Makes a weird facial expression. What?
There's like a ruffle on his trousers. It's either the pocket or a belt loop. You can just see where the trousers are sitting. You naturally, when you sit down in your trousers, they kind of ride up like that. Yeah, that's just how they are. But you can see at 18 seconds, I'm watching it now, and it is exactly as his finger goes behind the material and he pulls him, the material moves towards him. That's it. And if it was the wire, when he pulls it, it would pull up, not to the side the way it does.
Listen,
18 seconds, debunked.
Actually look at it. His
index
finger and all, he's grabbing something, not his pocket.
His arm would literally be going through the wire.
Yeah.
You can literally see that his color, okay, the color of his shirt is even changing. Like there's a line that is being generated. Right,
where?
Going to the center. Dude, can I share my screen?
There's a line where there's color. You mean the creases in his shirt?
Please, man. Cook, can you please watch my stream for a second? Let me show you something.
Apparently, the wire is attached.
So you understand what I'm trying to say? So you see how this is already like a bulge, right?
Think of how heavy it is.
Can I please show something?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Fight the flat Earth. Okay, you see that this is already a bulge, right?
Yeah.
Do you see right at this end of this weird bulge that he have? You can already see how this will glitch multiple times. See,
that's again, a crease in the shirt.
And now look, his hand is grabbing above this thing that is already pulled up. Okay, you see, there's nothing.
His finger is in the pocket. You can see it.
There's nothing he can grab. His finger is not in the pocket.
You can see it's in the pocket.
It is not in the pocket. There's
you can see it in the pocket. You can literally see it.
Stop lying. Where is?
I'm not the one that. Right, there is 700 people watching right now that can see the finger go into the pocket.
There's nothing in the pocket. Nothing. You can see 1, 2, 3. Listen. Watch, you blind man. Watch 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers going above this entangled thing right here. And he's grabbing literally nothing. See?
And you see his finger right there go behind it, go behind the material. You literally just watched. How are you denying what's happening in front of you? How are you denying what's happening in front of you right now?
You are denying it.
No, you are. You're literally denying what you're seeing.
You're projecting yourself onto me.
You are literally denying what you are seeing in real time. In real time, you are playing something and then denying that it's happening.
There is nothing he is grabbing. It's right above this thing, this blue thing. The good thing is the contrast of the blue pants is showing us clearly that above him there's nothing he can grab. Stop lying. See how his whole hand goes around.
There we go. I'm showing it right now on my stream once again. His finger is in the pocket. This seems to be a better quality video than the one you had.
You're such a liar.
Fuck you little bitch, calling me a liar. You're the one absolutely lying right now.
You're absolutely a liar, and you deceive.
No, you're a liar. You're a piece of shit because you're lying and you're calling me a liar.
You're
so
a deceiver, man. You're a deceiver.
You are ignoring the physics of what's going on. You are ignoring the physics, and you are lying, literally lying about what you are seeing. Why are you lying to everybody about what you are seeing? Are you lying to yourself as well?
You're such a believer.
I'm watching it again right now. I'm watching it again right now just to show how much of a liar you are.
Unbelievable, man.
And boom, there we go. He puts his finger in it and pulls it. 16 seconds.
You want to change
17,
the pace here?
18.
Let me ask you some questions. You want to change the pace here? Can I ask you some questions?
Yeah,
well, actually, before we do that,
Craig, I thought we were going to go. I thought we were going to go like shot by shot through these videos he was talking about.
Unbelievable.
But we have a hard stop at 7. We have another debate coming up. I should probably have told you that before. I thought 3 hours was sufficient, though. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Go ahead, guys.
You mind if I ask you a few questions, or you want to carry on with the video?
Go ahead. I'm good. Whatever.
What causes the apparent junction of the sky and ground? Is it Earth curvature or your eyesight?
It's Earth curvature. The horizon is an effect of the Earth's curve.
You literally asked the same question.
Does the Earth appear flat and motionless?
No.
What do you think the best proof for flat Earth is?
I don't think there's any.
What a deceiver. Unbelievable.
Homo habilis coming as opposable from says what?
You're a deceiver, my man.
Do airport radar stations flatten for curvature?
Do airport radar stations flatten for curvature? The question makes no sense.
The signal that's being propagated out from point A to point B, where its limitation is, and when you pick it up on radar, it's a 2D screen which just shows you distance and elevation information. Do they compensate for curvature to show the distance and elevation information?
The map that they'll be using will be a projection of a globe.
So the signal itself is then translated and then put into a 2D coordinate system from spherical information, or is the radar Cartesian and then it's transposed onto a 2D surface?
You can put many different maps behind the signal that you get from a radar, but the radar, the maps that are all used are all projections of globes, or even really modern radar systems actually use.
So they flatten for curvature.
Even modern radars, the actual computer system and screen they use is actually an entire globe, not just a flat-projected map.
So outside of the map, it's a globe, but the map has to be flattened. So they flatten for curvature. Is that what you're saying?
No, just because something's on a 2D screen doesn't mean it's flat.
Well, there's no curve in it, right? There's no elevation.
Locally, it may
curvature.
Elevation isn't curve. They're two different things.
So it's a no. It doesn't flatten for curvature, or it's a yes. It flattens for curvature, because you're talking.
It's a question that doesn't make any sense. I'm unable to answer it.
You're talking about sending out a signal and having a mathematical equation to deduce that signal that you've quantified, whatever height, whatever distance. You have to have that signal come back and relay information. That requires a coordinate system to do so. Are you saying that they're sending
a system?
Are you saying that the coordinate system is spherical and then they flatten for Cartesian?
No, I'm saying that the question you're asking makes no sense. That's not how radar maps work.
Okay, so the signal's being sent out. There has to be a coordinate system to read that signal. Do you follow?
Yeah, a map. They just put it on a map.
Right. So that map doesn't have any deviating zeniths. It's just distance and elevation information, and it's a distance of, let's say, 50.
Not always. No, like I said, modern radars, the actual section on the radar will be an exact representation of what you would get on a globe, and not any kind of projection.
Hey, just out of curiosity,
it would be a direct one-for-one reference.
Yeah, so a map has no curvature in it, right? There is no diverging zeniths. It's distance and elevation information. You understand that, right?
Okay, curve is not elevation.
So there's, on maps and radar, there's two measurable things: distance and elevation information. Do you understand that, right?
Yeah, but again, elevation is not curvature. So looking at elevation
Didn't say it
changes
was.
is nothing to do with curvature.
Right. So if you have a known distance and you have zenith points between those two distances, if the surface is curved, you're going to have a deviation between those two zeniths, right?
Yeah, plumb bobs deviate. Right. Yes,
so,
this is a fact.
Yeah, sure. So if plumb bobs deviate, well then that means radar should pick it up over 50, 60 miles, right? Because you're telling me a 6-foot person can pick it up at a distance of 3 miles.
Well,
then radar
what would the deviation be over 60 miles?
So again, radar has to pick up the same function as an observer with a plumb bob, right?
So the question is, what would the deviation of the plumb bobs be over 60 miles?
So you're asking me about your model that you're telling me your model has these measurements, and then you're asking me.
Yeah. So I'm just asking on our model. I'm just asking to clarify it to see if you know. So I know where to go with the conversation. Do you know?
So do you understand the question?
Wait, let me finish.
Do you understand
my
question.
The question?
Do airport radar
I do,
stations
and this is why I'm trying to clarify something with you. Please let me finish. Please let me finish my point. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, forgot my train of thought now because interrupted me while I was talking.
Yeah, because you're going off the rails. So again, do airport radar stations flatten for curvature? You understand
that question makes no sense. Every time you say that, the question makes no sense. Modern radar displays are a literal one-to-one representation of a globe. Plumb bobs deviate from each other. Yeah. So the question to you was, just so we know where we are, over 60 miles on the globe, how much would those plumb bobs deviate?
Yeah, again, so I'm not suggesting they do deviate. That's your model.
I'm saying on the globe,
in maps,
how much would they deviate?
In a map,
you don't know then, right? Okay.
In a map,
you could just say I don't know. That works.
In a map,
agree. Let's go.
There is no deviating zenith, so I don't know why you're bringing it up. Focus on the question at hand. I asked you if radar stations flatten for curvature because you have to have a coordinate system to be put on a grid system. That grid system has to have points of position that match the radar. So if that's the case, I have to take the known globe that you're claiming exists and I have to put it on a map, which means it has to match my radar. So if they're doing that, are they measuring the curvature and then correcting for Cartesian, or are they using Cartesian and they don't need to correct
so basically you've ignored what I've said about 10 times then?
Yeah, so you don't understand the question. Okay, let's move on to the next
I do,
one.
but you ignored my answer. You ignored my answer. You ignored my answer, didn't you?
You didn't answer.
I did. I literally answered for you.
You
and you ignored it.
You said I don't understand the question. It doesn't make sense.
No, I actually answered the next bit that you said several times, and you've completely ignored it.
Craig,
modern radar displays will be a 1-to-1 representation of the globe.
You make that statement, and if that is true, that means they have to have a coordinate system to do that in. So what do airport radar stations use for a coordinate system that I'm not aware of? What is it?
They use a 1-to-1 representation of the globe.
Is that Cartesian?
Display. They use a 1-to-1 representation of the globe onto
is it
the
Cartesian
display.
Is it
1-to-1 representation from the globe to the display.
So is it Cartesian then?
1-to-1 representation from the globe to the display.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next question. What's attractive about flat Earth to you, Craig?
Nothing. It's disgusting.
Can I ask a question about the radar and the mapping? Because you're saying it's 1-to-1 to the screen. Now, let's imagine there was a screen displaying this information, and we could. How big would the screen have to be for it to display the curvature, like he's asking?
Well, it like displays it. So
you can display it. You can take any coordinate system and transpose it digitally on a screen. You can
display it on any scale.
It's just It's a mathematical abstraction for a 3D position. You can do that with any coordinate system. It doesn't matter, Cartesian or whatnot. I'm asking, does the radar and the tower already have a global coordinate system that they have to transpose into 2D? Because the maps are 2D.
They take into account the globe, yes.
There's 2D information. There's no globe information on any of these maps, nor the radar maps. This is what you're either ignoring. Again, this is common knowledge.
Citation for that?
This is common knowledge. Well, yeah, you just look at a map
it's common knowledge that radar doesn't take into account the globe.
Look at a conical map. Its distance and elevation is just based on circles on a plane surface, and take that conical map at a municipal airport that you're flying in.
Be in the coordinate system, right?
No, at the end of the day, it's just distance and elevation information that we require to operate a plane. This is why the maps only have that information that is there, and that's why the radar matches the maps. Because you can't have the maps display a different function than the radar. They have to equally each other, right? They have to be equivalent to each other. So
Okay,
I'm asking you.
Can I read you something?
Hold on. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer
you
the question.
over 50 miles. According to your globe model, the horizon's only 3 miles, and then everything after that 3 mile point is dropping down. Now, yes, you can elevate. Now, we understand the higher elevation, the farther the signal we go, but the distance between that point of elevation and the end of that elevation is their curvature in that 50-mile mark. That's the question. So when I ask you, do the airport radar stations flatten for that so they can take it and put it on a flat 2D surface? It's either a yes or a no.
You can put a 3D globe on a 2D surface. That's my answer.
They have to flatten it then.
Are you saying you can't represent a 3D globe on a 2D screen?
You can't take a curving position having diverging zeniths and then flatten it without distortions.
I'm not saying that it's flat. Are you saying you can't display a globe on a screen?
Who is screaming? Is that you, Tony?
I can say you can take any mathematical transpose equation and put it. You can put it at a planar surface or a globe surface. It's irrelevant. It's a 3D image on a screen. You can make whatever image you want with any kind of mathematical system. The point is the radar signal that's being sent out. If it's going over a curved surface, it has to correct for that curved surface to put it on a 2D surface.
Yeah, and naturally the displays will have the correction for that on them.
Oh, so they do. So they do correct
if depending on which display they use. I mean, this is why I'm saying you haven't listened to anything I've said. There's many different displays of and types of ways of showing the data. That,
are they using Cartesian systems?
Okay, so I'm going to block. Mute you whilst I respond because you don't have the ability to not talk whilst I'm responding. It's amazing. So radar systems all have many different displays. There's not just one type of display for all radars in the world. They can have different maps, different ways of transposing that data, different coordinate systems, but it's always going to be based on latitude and longitude in some form or another. That's it. That's all you need to know. All right? Now I'm going to unmute you, and maybe you can stop over talking me.
Yeah, the point of the question is to understand whether or not you're getting the idea that your model claims curvature at 3 miles, right?
There's always curvature, yes.
Over a longer distance, that means radar has to account for it as well. If a 6
radar does, and I'm going to read this to you.
So hold on. I'm not done. You keep interrupting, right?
This will typically
and then you mute me. So again.
You asked me a question. You've asked me a question, so I'm going to ask. You asked me a question. You asked me a question, so let me answer. You asked the question. You asked the question.
You claim that curvature is noticeable for a 6-foot observer. That's what your claim is, right? And you can account for elevation drop from the horizontal for a 6-foot observer. This is your claim. So if that's the case, well, your drop from horizontal is elevation change, right? This is what you're
elevation's
claiming.
Not curve. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Elevation is not curve.
Oh, I agree with you, but I'm saying that that's what you conflate as curvature is elevation drop from the horizontal. That's what you or a bottom-up obstruction, right? So if this is the case, if this is happening locally due to optics, then there must be a correction for it. See, the problem, Craig, is that your audience needs to understand is that all local locations are based in Cartesian. So if I have a 50-mile if I have a 50-mile radius, that is going to be a circle on a planar. That's what exactly the radar shows, and that's exactly what the map shows. This is empirically true. Now, if you want to say that outside of my mind, there's a sphericity of the Earth over a larger distance, and then I can make mathematical equations and then show you a model of that for sure. I'm, however, talking about practical use. I'm talking about local practical use.
Yeah, and local practical use matches what you expect on a globe.
1 sec.
So a 2D surface with no curve.
You're both wrong. Tony's saying you're both wrong. Can we listen to him?
Right. Yeah. PhD Tony is trying to say something. So if we could let PhD Tony, because he usually corrects me.
Well, before we conclude, before we conclude with that, I'm almost done my questions with you. I've got like a few more. I don't want to detract from it.
Let's let PhD Tony respond to this part first, okay? Tony, please go ahead.
Okay. So what happens with aircraft radars is that they have a flat circular representation that gives you the distance and bearing from a reference location, and written next to the symbol on representing the plane is an altitude. So the position of the plane is represented in 3 dimensions. So with those 3 coordinates, the position in x and y, or latitude and longitude, and elevation, you can work out any position, and it doesn't matter if it's there's this constant misrepresentation of what the Cartesian coordinate system is. A coordinate system, any coordinate system, is just an address book. It tells you where something is in space, and it doesn't matter if the Earth is spherical or flat or donut shaped or whatever. We can represent it in Cartesian coordinates, we can represent it in spherical polar coordinates, we can represent it in any hyperbolic coordinate systems, we can represent it in any coordinate system. But the basic question that was asked, which is the how do you represent elevation relative to the ground? That is.
Do airport radar stations flatten for curvature? That was the question. PH, tell me if you want to answer. If you want to answer that, just yes or no would be fine. Thanks you.
As you have been told on multiple occasions, and you're hearing it now from a professional scientist,
multiple equations,
that you are that question is completely meaningless. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. You think it means something, but that question is completely meaningless.
Thank you, Tony.
What they do is they solve for they use multiple radar dishes to solve for the distance and azimuth of the plane, and then they give that elevation relative to the topography under the plane, which is read from the elevation of the topography relative to some datum, which will be in the records of the airport. They'll have a very high resolution digital elevation map of the surrounding topography relative to a datum, which is
you already repeated yourself. So can you answer in a yes or no manner? Do airport radar stations flatten for curvature? It's just yes or no.
Question doesn't make sense.
No, it isn't. It's a meaningless question.
So if you're going to have a coordinate system, it's either going to be due to the nature of the environment, which is going to be translated. You have to have a system to take that information and translate it into something else. So the airport radar stations, I understand. Let me finish. Stop interrupting. The airport stations that I'm familiar with use Cartesian system, which means there's no curve for 50 miles. It's a flat radius with a circle, and that is the radar distance that they can see. Now, my map matches that information, so if that is true, that's empirically true. You say that's a lie, that's not true. I can validate that both in application and pragmatic use. The question at hand is why you do not seem it as a valid question when I ask you, do airport radar stations flatten for curvature? Because they have to use a system. What system do they use? If it's Cartesian, that means there's no curve. There's no curve there. So what system are they using?
Your fundamental syllogism, which is that because they're using Cartesian coordinates, there is no curve, is false.
Why would that be false when the map that I'm using and the Euclidean geometry that I use to make using a plotter? Why would it all be incongruent with each other? Right? It'd be all congruent with one another. The map, the plotter, and the radar tower. They'd all have to be in congruence with each other. So if that's the case, are they taking out curvature and putting it on a 2D surface?
What are the rules here? He asked me not to interrupt him, but he's allowed to interrupt me while I'm 2 words into my answer.
Yeah, that's how it's worked with him, Tony, the whole time.
I just muted you because you started screeching into my ear, right? So I didn't want to hear that. That's what I did.
Okay, well then stop him from interrupting me.
If you keep doing it, I'm just going to keep muting you, man. I don't want to hear you screaming to me. I already turned down low. You know, louder is not clearer, professor. Okay? Thank you.
I'm not a professor. Thank you very much. But you can call me doctor if we're going to go with titles.
What does a doctor have to do with anything you're talking about?
Since respect to learn.
Come on, have some respect for him.
All right, he's debating flat Earth, and he's using his title as doctor to debate flat Earth. Give me a break.
Dr. Seuss, maybe.
Let's just carry on.
Yeah,
again, to get back to your syllogism, which I was explaining is false. We're
talking about pragmatic use. We're talking about pragmatic use, not your feelings. Factual pragmatic use.
Let him finish.
Okay, mate. You know, the group that I work for
Practical use.
Yes.
Data, not again.
So we do. Okay, let's talk about practical use then. We use Cartesian coordinates when analyzing GPS data to determine the shape of the Earth and the relative motion of GPS stations on Earth, and we get a spherical geometry out of it. That's practical use. We use Cartesian coordinates. I use Cartesian coordinates to model the position and velocity of satellites that are observing Earth's gravity field, and we get real results out of it. We can detect floods. We can detect droughts. We can detect the gravitational signal due to changes in water distribution across ranges. That's practical use. It is practically accurate. So your claims about Cartesian coordinates practically inferring that there is no curvature is simply wrong. You think that it's correct, but you are wrong. And I work in this for a living. I have postgraduate training in mathematics, and I know exactly what coordinate systems are and how they work. And your statement about because they use Cartesian coordinates, the Earth must be flat, is flat wrong. It is incorrect. Go to any mathematics, I don't care which one, go to any mathematics teacher, mathematics department in any university in the world, and they will tell you that that is wrong. That is not a valid syllogism. You are simply incorrect. And if you cannot accept that if every professional scientist in the world tells you you're wrong, then you're wrong, then there is something wrong with you.
Tony,
that's absolutely false. That's a false syllogism.
You have
hold on, guys. One sec.
Again, you have no argument stated.
Guys,
just to clarify, when I
please, thank you, Tony. A quick question, which I think will help with this: is it possible to find the position on a sphere using two coordinates?
Using two coordinates.
So longitude and latitude, I can use just those two reference points, and then I just need two reference points to find the position on a sphere, right?
Yeah, if I know that I'm on the surface of the sphere, yes.
Yeah, so that alone shows that a Cartesian coordinate system doesn't necessarily dictate it's flat, because you can use just 2 points to find any position on a curved surface, right?
Well, I mean, Cartesian coordinates are n-dimensional, so you can have 3-dimensional Cartesian coordinates. But the fact you're using locally, they have the 3 positions, right? They have distance relative to some x-axis, to some y-axis, and an elevation. That gives you the ability to map any surface, any position in 3-dimensional space. As long as you've got 3 coordinates that are non-degenerate, you've got 3 independent axes, you can map any surface, any shape, any
wonderful. So the question at hand is, I have a radar tower, it's emitting a signal, the signal's coming back to me. I am using Cartesian systems because it isn't flat. Is that right? Why would I be using Cartesian systems at an airport with a 50-mile radius? Why would I be using Cartesian systems? Wouldn't I be using a global system and then having to transpose it to Cartesian?
Okay, as I just explained, the global positioning system uses Cartesian coordinates, and one of the reasons for doing that is that it is much more convenient to calculate distances in Cartesian coordinates. The mathematical
I understand it's the fundamental reason why GPS works is Cartesian. Again, you're not listening to my question. You already responded by saying that question is completely meaningless. No, the question is not completely meaningless. Again, if I have a tower emitting a signal and it's coming back to me, I have to translate that signal. Now, if it's a sphere and I need to transpose it to a grid system, then I would take the measurement from a sphere and transpose it at 2D, but that's not what happens. We use Cartesian in that signal. We don't transpose anything. The signal that comes out and comes back is based on a Cartesian system. Now, if it's 50 miles of a radius, where would I be accounting for a 6-foot observer measuring curvature at 16,000 feet? There would be none, right?
No, that's not true. So the
so there would be some then. So they do flatten for curvature.
Let him answer.
I don't get 2 words into an answer, and this guy is off again. Right?
I've muted him, Tony.
So to get back to why we don't use spherical coordinates very often. Sometimes they are mathematically convenient. Sometimes there are, calculating the deformation of a sphere best done in spherical coordinates. But the reason we do most of our work in Cartesian coordinates is because, again, I'm going to repeat it, emphasize this bit. Calculating distances is much, much easier in Cartesian coordinates than it is in any other coordinate system. So that's why we tend to use the Cartesian coordinate system, because it allows us to much more conveniently measure distances between objects, distances traveled by objects, and velocities of objects. That's why we tend to use Cartesian coordinate systems. Where the curvature is incorporated into satellite radar, displays, is that the elevation is given relative to the digital elevation model, and the digital elevation model is elevation relative to a reference datum, and that reference datum includes curvature.
All right, so we actually got to wrap this up now, guys. If you want to give closing statements.
So you just stated that it's based on curvature, so they take that information.
Shane was actually speaking there.
Shane literally don't have time for that. Sorry.
Yeah, data. Shane was talking there. It was rude. All right, Shane. Right, I think that's a great place to stop. Thank you, Tony, for coming in and explaining that. It's much more succinct than I ever could. That's why you're the PhD and I'm just a lowly bachelor. Shane, thank you very much for hosting. Always fun. More than willing to come back and do it again. Bit gutted that SC Montreal didn't turn up because he's extra dumb. But thank you very much for hosting once again.
I love the backhanded goads on the way, just to make sure. I love it.
Thank you, everyone, for all the Globers and the Flat Earthers here. I appreciate your time. Don't take anything personal. If I call you an idiot, it's just because that's what I think of you.
It's all good, man. Thanks for coming.
Good night, guys.
None of my business.
Take care. Well, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Tony, for coming in at the end there. Masked Wolf Dragoness Bachelor. I thought FD was married. Yeah. I mean bachelor education wise, BSc. Not a real person like Tony, because only real people have PhDs. That's how you know if you're a real person. You've got a PhD. I've had a lot of fun tonight, as always. Going into a place like that is always excellent fun. No one had an answer for the pendulum. And they're like, oh, you keep holding on to that. Oh, you're so stuck on the pendulum. That's because no one can fucking answer it. It's simple. Pendulums kill the flat Earth dead. Not only do they show that the Earth rotates, but they show it is spherical in nature. It's simple. There is no debunk for it. Austin's attempt using the Machian principle, I've ripped that apart, and I think I'll do a whole video on it. But yeah. Brenda says, I'm not sure this is fun. I enjoy it. I don't know about you. Yeah, the pendulum is perfect proof, Jerry. You're right. All right, so I don't think I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, but like I said, I'll be back on Sunday with Mega Cut, stream with the wife, and then episode 72 of Flerfs Are Idiots. That's going to be fun, a lot of fun. Yeah, PhD Tony, thank you very much for coming in there at the end and clearing that up. Does it flatten the curvature? Yeah, that just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I know Witsit saying he demolished me. Don't worry, that's going to be covered. The problem is with Witsit is that he misunderstands relativity so much that it's hard to understand his misunderstandings. And the fact is that nobody does that. No one really studies relativity unless you're like, postgraduate level, PhD and stuff, I've got a bachelor's in physics and you don't touch relativity. You're kind of told about things, but it's all Newtonian because that's all we need to know. Relativity is a very complicated subject, and Witsit has, he doesn't just misunderstand the basic stuff, he misunderstands the more complicated stuff. And because it's very hard to respond to the things he says without a deep, intricate knowledge of relativity, he can come across as though, oh, I said a bunch of stuff and he didn't really have anything to say against it. But like Toon said the other day, even if Witsit is right with all his stuff, it doesn't actually achieve anything. Plus, he's not really right with all the things he says. So no, Witsit 100% didn't demolish me, because he didn't have a response for the pendulum. He tried to respond to it by saying about the Machian principle, but the Machian principle does not say what he thinks it says, like, at all. Right, let's read super chats and let you wonderful people go to bed. As ever, guys, there was like nearly 800 people watching at one point. Loads of super chats. It's mind blowing the support you keep giving me. I love you all so much. And I know at the moment it's hard, cost of living and everything. So the fact that you still want to give me, you know, the tips and that, it's mind blowing. And you know, I don't care if I do a stream and I don't get much, you know. I might do a stream and only get like 10, 15 quid or whatever, but you know, that doesn't bother me because I'm not necessarily just doing this for the money. Obviously this is my job, you know, but I love doing this, and the fact that you guys are here to support me, I'm going to give you the same show, you know, whether you're chucking super chats at me or not. That's never going to be, you know, something, oh, you guys didn't support me enough. I've seen those people. It's horrible. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the support that you give me. But know that it's never a necessity, and I love you all for it. Saying that, quite a few super chats today, so thank you very much. Kango44 for $5 New Zealand dollars says, question for Witsit, being the expert in relativity, quantum mechanics and magnetism, how does the sunset work? Ding! Yeah, well, the sunset is just an apparent optical illusion of compression magnetism or something. I don't know. I suck at being a Flerf. Waikikamukow says, I'm more entertaining than Netflix. Well, thank you very much. Donald Trump's Bone Spurs, who's been a member for 32 months. That's more than twice orbiting our star. It says, as for my 32nd month, I want a dumpster fire. Well, let's have a look at the poll. Oh. My mic just fell over. Let's have a look at the poll, guys, because in the poll, it was what do you want, Calm Craig or Dumpster Fire FTFE? Because I've been mixing it up a bit. I've been trying to, you know, get the Flerfs to realise that if they want to have a decent conversation, it's kind of up to them. But at the end of the day, 61% of you wanted a dumpster fire. Hope I gave you what you wanted. Stringer News 1 for $5, and Stringer News 1 is a special place in my heart, and he should for you as well, guys, because without Stringer News 1, this channel would have probably died in the first year when my laptop kaputted. If it wasn't for his amazing support, allowing me to you know, get my new PC and everything, this channel probably wouldn't exist. So make sure every one of you in the chat right now say thank you to Stringer News 1. For $5, he says, I feel sorry for anyone who's playing drink every time data says feet and inches. Yeah, I don't want to die. Thank you very much. Perf, who's been a member for 9 months, thank you very much, says, I wonder what causes this optical illusion. Refraction! Like, the whole argument of, oh, well, it's not where it's supposed to be because we see it in a different place, therefore it's, you know, debunked. It's so fucking stupid. Like, if they look in a mirror and they see themselves in the mirror, does that debunk that they're standing in front of the mirror? It's honestly hard to think down to their level, guys. Marek Zayance, for 10 PlayStation Network dollars, says, yes, finally a stream at a decent hour for Europe. Yeah, fuck you Europeans. No, yeah, I know I don't do many streams at this time. Partly because the majority of my audience is American, but partly because, you know, I've got to make sure my kids are in bed and stuff. But, you know, Shane sorted out for me today to go on there at 9 PM, so I did that. Thank you. And Marek Zayance, who's been a member for 23 months, almost twice around the sun, just gives me a love heart. Thank you very much. I'll give you one back. I'm going to try and pronounce your name and get it wrong. Dwergarfalanax. There we go. For 15 Canadian dollars, how do you do it? How do you put up with so much stupidity? I couldn't do it. Valkyrie Vision for $4.99 says, had me a donut disc. Thanks, FTFE. Always enjoy your discussions. Thank you very much. Yeah, Rumpus, you're right. He says the Flat Earth data, the Horizon argument was incredible. The Horizon is an optical effect, yet Flat Earth data didn't want to admit that refraction has to be considered. I know, it blows my mind. Connell Silverfer, member for 21 months, says, you still seem surprised when Flerfs lie and can't give specifics, FTFE. You should know better. Gotta lie to Flerf. I know, but I like to think that in general, I like to think the best of people and think that they're not just going to lie to me, you know? But you're right. 4 years of doing this, I fucking should know better at this point. It's just my fault, really. Sarah Jones, who is my Facebook, personal assistant, basically, for £5 says, to be fair, FM two-way radios are much better now that FM toys are better now than the FM toys we had in the 80s as kids. Remember when you could tune them into an FM radio? Yeah, that was good. But I had like one with a few of my friends that lived really close to me, and we would like talk to each other at night and stuff, Stranger Things style. That was fun. Rachbot, my favourite AI that I personally programmed, who's been a member for 35 months, says, we feel the fire in Adelaide. Great to see you. No, great to see you. Obviously, honestly, guys, it's great to see you. You know, just looking and knowing that I can do a stream and there's like going to be at least 500 of you watching me. You know, I love doing this. I love doing this because you guys are so awesome. Thank you for everything. For making this the best job I've ever had. Thank you. Spaceworks and Scienceworks for €2 says, a whole lot of Dunning-Kruger club card holders. Yeah, top left's going to be a difficult one this year. Rick Sanchez, you should be busy destroying the Galactic Federation. For $2 says, keep fighting the stupid FTFE. I will. And then Rick Sanchez for $5 says, Whitsit is a crybaby that cries fallacy non-stop while committing fallacies himself because he knows his arguments are irrelevant. It's hilarious. Yeah. Here's the thing, right? Apart from the fact that Whitsit or no other flat earther even understands in the slightest what a begging the question fallacy is, they use it all the time, right? They don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter that they don't know what it is. Because even if they did know what it is and used it correctly, never has a fallacy debunked science, and it never will. You know? Traveller X, who's been a member for 34 months. Jesus, dude, love you. Love it when Flerfs try to have both sides of the argument. Strawmanning is the only way they can win a debate. Yeah, they can't win a debate. So, no. Stringer News 1 for $2 says, newsflash, airplanes fly in the air, Dunkoff. Yeah, apparently according to Hammer, drones using the atmosphere to fly is just a claim. How the fuck does he think they fly? Rick Sanchez for another $2 says, is the colour red, blue or green? Valid question. Which colour? I'm not sure. But what you've just done with that super chat would have been blue. Because, as you notice with the lights flashing, it flashes a different colour depending on the super chat that you guys send. So, if you send, I think the lower end super chats, like blue, like for under $5, it's blue. For above that, it's green. And then like $10, $20, it flashes yellow. And if you're nice enough to send me like a $50 or something, which blows my mind when you do, it all flashes red. So yeah, it depends on the color. Indie Tiger Sci-Fi review for $5. As soon as a datum is introduced, no curvature correction is needed because all elevations in radar are based on that datum. Yeah, they don't like datums, do they? They don't. They tried to cite something. Yeah, but that's based on the datum that's a globe or a spheroid of some kind. Darren did Baron for 12 months, been a member for 12 months, says, me is tiny bit dumber now. Yeah, sorry guys. Brain cells get destroyed watching this. Stringer News 1 for $10 says, okay, first off, ATC radar uses the aircraft's mode-free transponder to send its pressure altitude to the system. And then there's the fact that aircraft fly in the air, not drive on the ground. You're right. When you're right, you're right. JD, no message, but $8.99. Thank you very much, my friend. Fireheart60 Airsoft and More, who's been a member for 27 months. Getting close. Love you, kill the flat earth. Thank you very much. And I love you too, random citizen. Silver Phoenix Rising for $10. Thank you very much. says, Witsit doesn't get and he never will. Keep up the good work, Craig. No. His name is the most ironic. Stringer News 1 just gifted 10 memberships. I mean, not only did you save the channel, but you're doing... I love you. I love you. David Stewart for $5 says, I don't know how you can stand to deal with the Flerfs. They're so intellectually dishonest. It's fun. Honestly, I have incredible amounts of fun doing this. PhD Tony, the only real person in the house, for $5 says, Prof. Phil Bell wants to do a show about spell extras relativity for you. Please set that up. 100%. Let's get it done. Luchu, my friend on Discord, for $2.99 says, wrong. England held USA to a 0-0 draw. Yes, England and USA drew. Now, wait, does that mean that England and USA both go through? Because Wales and Iran have both lost, but England and USA haven't lost any. I don't know. Someone tell me how football works. Are England through to the next round now? I'm not sure. And then Earthrise, who's been a member for 11 months, says, take Prof. Phil Bell's offer about relativity. I'm on it. You know, because I need to learn more about relativity. It's not something I've ever really studied. I have a surface level knowledge of relativity at best. But I'll tell you something, so does everybody else in this conversation, because most of us don't have PhDs and learn about this stuff. Apart from, you know, people like Phil Bell and PhD Tony, because, you know, they've got PhDs. I'd love to be able to understand it more to help argue against people like Witsit, who use a misunderstanding of relativity as some kind of gotcha when it never even works. Hammer, £1, no message, thank you very much. So, yeah, I would absolutely love it. Rumpus says, if Wales beat England 5-0, then Wales will go through at the expense of England. Right. Is that because of goal difference? So we've got to wait till the Wales-England match to... and so... Does that mean if England won, like, you know, if England lost 5-4, they would still go through because their goal difference would be bigger? I don't know. I don't understand football. That's going to be it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for the stream. Don't forget to come back on Sunday for a new Mega Cut, a stream with me and Mrs. Fight, and then a premiere for episode 72 of Flerfs Are Idiots. I've had great fun. I hope you've all had great fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching and supporting, as you always do. Thank you, PhD Tony, for coming on and sorting out that nonsense about radars. I love you all. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat Earth. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Why is it paused? Maybe at the start. Yeah, there we go. Hey. You better all be dancing. Good night. Thank you, Stringer News 1. Good night, too.